Hi guys, how's it? In the name of Christ, I hope you're good. It's the girl Cran K. If I'm looking above, it's only because I'm doing edits while also working. And you guys, I'm uploading shorts on Facebook. And I want to multitask. I hope you're good. Hope you're peachy. Hope you're in a bunch. Hope you're together. It's been a long weekend. In the sense that yeah, I've been busy. Yeah, just you don't need to know what that busyness is. You just need to know that I've been busy. Yeah, and I'm only recording now at night because of all that busyness. And y'all know that busyness is just here in the yard. When I talk busy, it's not like I got a life or whatever. It's just a whole bunch of things that I'm chores, just trying to get my own life and act together. Anyway, of how my skin is glowing, like you gotta dig, you gotta love. Yeah, despite my skin glowing, I got like a whole bunch of acne. And we're gonna deal with that and just take it in our stride, guys. Like, take it in our stride, like proper, like until further notice, until the Lord awards me a visit to the dermatologist. I'm just grateful that my acne appears in places that if I just look at you straight in the face, you won't really know. I gotta look that way. Makeup courtesy of Beauty Plus. Dig in the look. We're done now chatting about all that. It is Sunday, you guys, and it is a lovely day. Did you notice? Did you? Oh, happy day. Remember yesterday I prayed? I was like, God, please give me silence detection. Well, I got silence detection. Y'all saw it in yesterday's video. I have silence detection. Like, praise Jesus. No watermark, just silence detection. I can keep quiet now for like 10 whole seconds. And you won't even know it. Anyway, whatever. So that's out of the way. That's no longer a challenge that I've got, a choke up that I have. And I'm grateful for that. That's eradicated. So my pacing is back. Now we need to talk about what it is that I saw. You guys, when I do this, like proper, understand you're going to see makeup falling off. It's an app. But when I have an eyelash coming close to coming in my eye, I am going to take it out with or without looking like my makeup is falling off. Like, I don't care. Okay, y'all. You know what? Satani, witchcraft. I am being pursued or attacked by the same darkness that I told you guys that I'm editing at the same time. Uploading, rather, at the same time. I am pursued by the same darkness that has been pursuing me all this time. And I told you guys in like some time ago, maybe 3-4 weeks, I don't know, before maybe over a month ago, before I started getting a lot of relief from the demonic attack unto suicide. I did let you guys know that before the rapture happens, essentially before we go home, right? I am going to be pursued by suicide all the way up until the end. Is not going to stop. What Jesus didn't tell me, however, is that in spite of that, in spite of that pursuit, let me rather resentence this way. Let me restructure my sentence this way. What the Lord did not tell me, he let me know that I will be harassed by the occult to commit suicide all the way up until the rapture. But what he did not let me know is that he would make it exponentially less and less afflicting of my soul each new time they cast spells on me. He did not let me know. It's like, you guys know that I like to use analogies. I reached an equilibrium sorrow at some point, and it's been on a decline ever since then. I reached a height of sorrow at some point where the suicide ideation was at such a poignant level. It was at such a dizzy height, and I imagined it would just keep ramping up. And given that the Lord had shown me that this would be a pursuit after my life for pretty much until we go home in the rapture, I thought I was just going to have to deal with these feelings of macabre, melancholy, sorrow, forlornness, just this feeling of foreboding all day long. I thought that was just going to be on the ramp up. I thought it was just going to keep happening for me to feel that way, because, for me it was like, Lord, you tell me that I'm going to be getting harassed by death curses unto suicide all the way up until the rapture. How am I supposed to take it? There was a time when I was like, I can't take it. It's too heavy. I'm too broken. I am too devastated. And I just imagined myself pushing another year, another two. Another thing that also broke my heart was the fact that he told me that I'm going to get my fitness. In other words, I'm first going to get an apartment. When the rapture happens, I'm going to be living by myself. All right. And for me, it was like, okay, I'm really far from monetizing any of my channels. I am far from monetizing my fitness. So must I be this macabre and this forlorn. Until then, maybe I might gain some kind of peace or joy on the day when I get my apartment, or on the day when I have enough money to move out of here, blah blah, get my affairs in order. But must I wait until then? Well, the Lord just let me know that you're going to have your own apartment by the time you leave. The Lord showed me I'm going to also own, I've got like so many issues with my computer right now. I'm going to own my own, I'm going to purchase a new MacBook Pro, a laptop, an Apple laptop, because I only do Apple, okay, when it comes to computing and what have you. When it comes to PCs, yeah, he had shown me that. He showed me being at an airport, right, with wearing white robes with a whole bunch of other people wearing not white robes. I wasn't wearing white robes. I was wearing a white outfit, like like a tracksuit outfit, you know, tracksuit hoodie top and tracksuit pants and sneakers. However, it was all pure white, and strangely, I was also rocking the wig, that orange wig, and this was before I even bought these wigs, where I saw this dream. Okay, so that was like pretty prophetic, if you tell me. Alongside other people at the airport wearing different kinds of outfits. However, they were all sparkly white, and they were all very busy at just outside the check-in terminals, and I was working on the floor, like as in the airport was so bustling with activity that some people were like just sprawled on the floor on their laptops. Other people were talking to other people, blah blah, etc. Basically, that was the Lord showing me those of us who are waiting for the rapture and are ready with our clothes made clean, new, washed. He basically let me know that we will be like he showed me us, all of us working, waiting to board the airplane, but very busy, not just sitting at the airport lounge. We were all very busy. And I was working on a Mac laptop, a MacBook Pro, like a laptop, yeah, Apple, okay? On the floor typing on it, and I kept on getting up from it, running to some place to get something, and then come back to my laptop. The Lord showed me very clearly that Apple logo with the bitten apple. Yeah, he showed me that my qualms, my woes, my complaints, my sorrows concerning my very slow Mac, my computer that is like a snail. The way that it operates right now, it's old, and it's all I have. It's dottering around like a geriatric. That I'm actually going to get a replacement. That I will get to the day when I buy myself a MacBook Pro. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna buy myself cash a laptop. It's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be working off that at the speed of lightning, and I will no longer have any issues with computers crashing and blah blah blah. What a fish paste. Okay, so he had shown me that, and when I was in that forlorn state, that broken, devastated state, I was like, ugh, I know how poignant my spiritual gifting is. I have seen things that you have shown me that came to pass, sometimes immediately, sometimes after a very long amount of time. And so the fact that there are certain prophecies or things, visions that you've given me of the future that have not come to pass, when I am this macabre, when I'm this forlorn right now, I literally cannot imagine another day, another year, another month in this state. And I am obviously kind of far from, by far, like decently far, given my low numbers. I'm at war with America right now and all of their shadow banning and censorship, even on platforms that aren't taboo. That battle by America is that battle by Africans with America, or content creators that are not in America with America, is yet to be won. But the Lord showed me that it's gonna be won. The US and their irresponsibility are going to eventually get off the necks, okay, of who is this? Guys, I've got so many dreams, anyway, off the necks of everybody, especially African content creators, and so we're eventually gonna fly, and we're not yet there. I'm not there yet, and many others like me are not there yet. They are literally restricting Africa, especially African content creators, because they want to keep themselves strong, and they're stealing African talent. I've been saying it for a minute, and so given that this is something that the US has to basically it has to fall so low, it has to be so devastated in some way as a country in totality for them to finally just literally beg for any kind of acknowledgement, support, business. I told you guys that America's gonna get to a point where their strategy to keep their power by hurting other nations, they're gonna throw it away. I had so basically before that whole thing happens, I'm still gonna be growing very, very slowly across all my channels, okay? Like even fitness is gonna be dottering around like a geriatric. barely scraping through the day, even though it's just fitness. It's nothing taboo. I can understand shadow banning on ministry because people are silly. They like to censor, but I'm just dancing and like proper. And that's shadow banned, okay? Shadow banned because they're targeting Africans. I've been saying it for a minute, and they're gonna let us go. And when they do, there will be a sudden violent overnight growth of some channels that was sitting on nothing, just gathering dust, frozen Bashapile's statue. And that's when I'm going to monetize within a month, 2, maybe 3 tops. And the monetization is going to grow. Salary increases, that's what the Lord showed me, are going to be so astronomical month on month because of the amount of growth that it's going to be kind of embarrassing to everybody that had wreaked havoc, never mind in my life, but for America. It's also going to be very, very embarrassing for America when African content creators, especially African, because they are largely targeting Africans, when African content creators all of a sudden just overwhelm, overtake, literally like a speedboat, just whooshing right past you at the ocean. American content creators that were favored above us in the same niche, we're going to grow suddenly very violently, and it's going to humiliate Lay, Janes, and Joes that are American citizens. They're going to realize that their country played dirty and in the end made them all look substandard in comparison to other people because they were not put in equal playing grounds with everybody from the very get-go. It's going to be humiliating for the US, but they're going to do it. Okay, American content creators are going to get to a point, a time, where they're going to basically be begging to collaborate, work together with African YouTubers just to boost their stats on their channels. That day is coming, and I sort of, like a little bit to a certain extent, feel sorry for the American conglomerate because of the fact that they really did not quite, a lot of them did not see what their own government was doing to other people across the world, and the collateral damage is going to be on American content creators. They're going to all of a sudden be placed on equal footing with everybody else, and then it will become a little bit more clear, if not a lot more clear, that all along they've been given an unfair advantage, and that's going to make them kind of grovel. It will make them beg. It will make them knock on doors of especially African content creators on some, hey, we're in the same niche, want to do a video together. It's literally coming. And when it does, don't say I didn't tell you. So yeah, that's just what God does to a country when it's roaming around in a whole bunch of ransacking immorality. However, before that day does arrive, there's going to be a couple of, I don't know how long, I can't tell you the date, the number of days, weeks, months before that date eventually arrives. But things are happening at such a rapid rate right now that I imagine is not very far, because I also don't imagine the rapture is very far. Okay, I had a dream last night, right? I'm gonna get back to the melancholy, the suicide, and explain my little analogy using my charts and what have you. My graphs in my mind that I will hopefully, with grand kaleidoscopic description, be able to perhaps patch the visual in your brain too. Okay, so last night I had a dream of literally a redo of that whole treacherous scene in Afghanistan, where Joe Biden sent out an executive order to basically launch some kind of a missile in Afghanistan. You will remember, in order to get to some dude or dudette or bunch of dudes and dudettes who were responsible for the airport shooting, you know, where how he just like pulled out of Afghanistan like no man's business, like overnight and stuff, and there were American casualties, and the retaliation coming from the White House was to launch as an eye-in-the-sky missile that then just kind of bombed the house of apparently, allegedly, the person that bombed the airport, killing a whole bunch of Afghani people and Americans. You will remember that explosion. You remember the retaliation by the White House, by America. Literally, Joe Biden sent out an order to shoot somebody, to shoot the apparent culprit, okay? And it killed an innocent family. Guys, like, it killed an innocent family. Alright? It killed an innocent family, including some toddler children. Yeah, it was really bad. And then America went on right ahead to celebrate that they got the guy that messed up there at the airport, bombed everybody, or one of the guys, only for information to return a couple of days later that those were completely innocent people. They were civilians. And the guy who was responsible, or the guys that were responsible, were not even there. It was humiliating for America, you will remember. And to this day, I still don't understand why there was no international, like, I don't know, activity, some international intervention to deal with that crime. It was a crime. I feel like it was a war crime. Like, you don't just get to shoot, like, blind in the night somebody that is in your house. Yeah, exactly. You don't get to shoot blind in the night somebody that is in your house dead, and then you wake up in the morning and you find out that it is your daughter's boyfriend. And you've met this daughter's boyfriend like 5 times before, 10 times before, and you live in the house with your daughter, and then this guy comes up dead, and you as the mom or the dad are like, well, I mean, I just like felt somebody walking in my house and I shot. That is not, at a minimum, that's culpable homicide. At a minimum, that is culpable homicide. At a maximum, it's just like, I don't know, negligence or something, like 2nd degree, maybe, I don't know, whatever. It's some kind of murder. It is a crime. It is a crime. At a minimum, Joe Biden and the White House caucus there should have, by international laws, basically been held culpably responsible for that massacre, that killing. It was civilians, and they blindly just killed people that they thought were the actual perps. However, because they were negligent, they ought to have, at a minimum, there been some kind of international intervention, putting that down in paper as that's irresponsible. The guy should have been impeached, something. I don't know, guys. You don't just get to commit war crimes and get away with it. But I guess that's exactly what Putin is doing right now. So let's, I guess, apparently not judge America. But whatever. Yeah, I had a dream last night of that whole thing. Like, just a repeat of the whole cycle. The news of America. Like, hooking up that bombing, explosion, firing, killing toddlers and the dad and the mom thing in Afghanistan. And everybody was embarrassed later on that they literally went and killed entire civilians. Like, completely innocent people. Yeah, I had a dream of that. Just a whole repeat. Like, literally verbatim, everything that happened, carbon copy. I was like, God, why are you repeating old news? Because apparently now it's old news, now that nobody's talking about it except some families are still grieving. But anyway, whatever. Why are you repeating old news to me? Why are you showing me old news? And the Lord was like, Joe Biden has done that to more than just Afghanistan with the strategy. The Lord was like, Joe Biden has made that same fluke across the world. There are more casualties in a metaphoric and a spiritual sense, alongside sometimes physical, where it is that America, by executive order coming from up top in the White House, and frankly, Joe Biden is like a puppet on a string. Everybody knows that. However, he's the face of America right now, so we're gonna call it Joe Biden, even though frankly, it's O'Biden. We know it's O'Biden more than anything, but that's another story for another day. That president of the United States has single-handedly decimated America and what it has for years stood for. In just, how long has he been there now? Almost 4 years, right? Yeah, almost 4 years. Joe Biden, in just 4 years, he has literally gone on right ahead to burn the American flag and everything that it has ever stood for over all these decades that it has been, the nation that it has been. In just one single presidency, all of it came crashing. All of it just came falling. So I don't even know why the Democrats are still opening their mouths at this point, because that president has ruined America. Americans who are conservatives, alongside Christians, would agree with me. Whether or not they think I'm bitter against their country, I am bitter. Like, frankly, I'm not even going to lie about that. I am. But they would be, dishonest if they wanted to just write me off as a person that can't stand America. Upon me stating such things as these. Plus, I haven't always been this bitter against America. It's a new thing. Y'all know about a month ago, my mind snapped against America, especially considering they unleashed a little criminal on me type setup thing. So I've been put in a position to dislike America very much. I've been placed here. I used to be very supportive of America. I was pro-USA in the worst way. And now I just can't stand them. Yeah, because of how badly they've afflicted me. They've bombed my house. They've taken bread out of my stomach. They've taken a future away from me. They've pulled the rug from under my feet despite my innocence. And that dream that God gave me was the Lord showing me one of that thing that Joe Biden did in Afghanistan, literally across the world. He's been, by executive order, but basically just decreeing the American people, not people, but government, like those who are in a position to execute executive orders. He has put them in a position to kill innocents, to just develop being law-abiding, yes sir, commander-in-chief. They just go and they shoot because the president says so. They just press a button because the president says so. Nobody stood up against it, and the conservatives, alongside Christians in America, will all agree with me that Joe Biden is a judgment on America. He has been placed there. It is written in the Lord's word that it is written in God's word that the heart of a king is like a stream of water in the hands of the Lord, and he charts it in whichever direction he would desire, right? The thoughts and intentions of man, the Lord is the one that is in charge of them. People plan, and the Lord loves. The Lord raises up kings, and he brings low men. Do you understand? He sets apart everything for its purposes, including the wicked for the day of trouble. So Joe Biden is not a fluke or a happenstance to be sitting in the presidency right now in America. He was put there by God precisely because of the incredible rebellion of America against him, and how much they've been frankly just abusing the planet, abusing their power, their superpower status to abuse the planet. That's what's been going on here. They're like a tyrant or a bad boss. That's what America has been for a very long time. And they have not been repenting. They have not been listening to prophets. They have just been ignoring. So God gave them, and the Lord first gave America Trump, right? After Obama. And they hated him, threw him out of office, they called him all different kinds of things. And it became clear that Donald Trump, after Joe Biden took office, that he was onto something. There has not been... In the whole history of America, there's never been a president who people changed their minds about after he left office more than Donald Trump, especially among the liberals. A lot of them were very embarrassed, and what it is that Joe Biden has literally made Donald Trump look like the lesser evil, even to some of his biggest haters right now. And the strange thing that I also find about what's going on in America is that they are actively trying to make sure that Trump never ever breathes again. His life is in danger, frankly. I have already prophesied that back in the day. The liberals would more than anything rather kill Donald Trump than let him take office again. So they will come up with all different kinds of things. So they are still on the same mission. It's like they haven't learned their lesson. They haven't learned their lesson. Like, there are people who are like, okay, so Donald Trump, we didn't like him, but he literally was the lesser evil in comparison to Joe Biden. And then they still are carrying on to make sure he never takes office. That is like entrenching in your already judged state a nail in the coffin. You know what the tantamount, what America doing what they're doing to Donald Trump is the tantamount of, and the celebration of his indictment, and the celebration of his mugshots and all these random things that are going on. It is the equivalent of the king Jehoiakim upon Baruch giving him a scroll with a prophecy from the prophet Jeremiah, burning the scroll. You know that whole story in the Bible, in the Old Testament, where it is that a king was given a prophecy by the prophets of God, and they burnt the scroll instead of read it. America has seen the ramifications. America has been given an opportunity to see the ramifications of their rebellion. And yet, in spite of the ramifications of their rebellion, they are still upon Jeremiah rocking up to give a scroll, or Baruch rocking up to give a scroll, burning it. Yeah, so go on, and arrest Trump, put him in prison, make sure he can't run for office and all that jazz, and bring another Biden. I don't even know why Joe Biden would go for a second term. Like, proper, it would be embarrassing, humiliating. Like, the dude is on a decline like no man's business. But the executive orders that have been passed down by Joe Biden ever since he took office, some of them which are clandestine and so not clear, overt to everybody in public, have been to afflict. Okay, I told you guys that this comes from up top, White House level, the world through social media, to keep America powerful. It's like Joe Biden was told, look, our nation is struggling and suffering. These are several recommendations here as your advisory body as to what we should do in order to try and keep our country strong. We imagine that perhaps maybe if we manipulated social media like as a national strategy, since it does belong to us, we own a lot of the social media platforms of the world, so we can control the narrative. I would imagine that it would be advisable, Mr. Biden, or President Biden, or Commander-in-Chief, or whatever, if you basically thwarted nations on our social media platforms, the individual civilians therein, their prosperity, in order to thwart their economic growth using social media platforms, because we know that it is a cash cow for countries. It has got, it brings in quite a lot of GDP and a lot of diversification which the world is embracing, cultural intermingling and what have you, is growing astronomically and phenomenally. And so people are no longer looking at America as the be-all and end-all of a creative power. They are seeing that there's lots of power across the world, and this is the growth trajectory of Africa when it comes to creativity on social media. It is at this rate, if at all it stays like this, going to eventually catch up with us and then defy us. We cannot allow that to happen, sir. It would be highly recommended if we were to, just gently, without it being visible to content creators, literally throttle, smother African content creators so that they don't ever overwhelm our content creators, because this is a whole national strategy. We must be the ones to control the narrative, which is why American content creators also get away with so much more murder than anybody else across the world. They have done this to other continents too, but they have, for whatever reason, really just kind of honed in on Africa. I have made mention of that, and I just so happened to fall in that little bag of nothingness. That's what's good. And Joe Biden, being the little lackey that he is, being this thing that's just pulled by the nose, was very well just run with it, effect it, hook up a team, build a whole office building dedicated to that. We'll give you an office on Capitol Hill, with a nice little center kitchen with an island made of marble, just so you guys can sit around there having breakfast, discussing how to ransack Nigerian content creators, South Africans, Ghanaians, and I could go on. And there it is that they had a little office at Capitol Hill and a little kitchen next to that very big office where there's an island, and in the morning they have croissants right there discussing how to destroy Karabo's entire YouTube channel. That is what is currently happening, and that would be the equivalent, the tantamount of just grabbing a whole intercontinental ballistic missile and targeting some far off city, some far off village in some far-off country where people did not see you coming to decimate an already decimated ecosystem. People who are already struggling, they're not living the American dream. They don't have what under heaven it is that Americans have. They can't just go to the grocery store to buy bread because, really proper, we're at war. So we've lost all of our commerce in this particular geographical location. But guess what? Tomorrow at 12 p.m. there's going to be a bomb landing on the house of that man over there with his children, and they're all going to die. But instead of it being Afghanistan, it's somewhere in South Africa. It's somewhere in Nigeria. It's somewhere in Ghana. Somewhere called Tunisia. Somewhere, maybe that's even the reason why there was that unfortunate earthquake happening in Morocco. Joe Biden might have sent that. I'm kidding. Nah, that was God. That's what's good. So with this strategy, that's what's good. A lot of people have literally died, unable to come up for air, escape, survive the African typicality. Some of us, like Karabo, have been ransacked by African typicality. What is African typicality? I'll come tell you, especially Black African typicality. So perhaps let me not go and plaster this or slather this on the North Africans over there. Baba Baswe Arabic looking like an Indian, looking like a Middle Eastern. I'm talking largely the Black conglomerate, so Southern, Central, East African conglomerate, going down. Let me explain to you basically Black African typicality. I know Black people don't want this to be true. They would much rather have them paraded in the streets as being without any fault, because the moment you accuse a Black person of anything, they then kind of pull the race card. But a Black person about to be out here explaining the Black typicality, so you don't get to make me appear like some person that is anti-Black. Proper, you and your George Floyd protests. Go sit in America where all of the topics there are literally centered around the LGBT community and Black people. You don't belong in Africa. But in Africa, this is a reality, and anybody at all that lives here would know that. Especially among Black Africans, there is a defeatism, a violent one. It is just poignant and exquisite. Now, why is this defeatism a thing? Resources are a thing. Okay, Africa is poor because Africans have just kept themselves poor. Frankly, you had it coming, all right? After slavery was abolished, yes, maybe you could have been given time to teeth and stuff and get your act together. But then the moment you were able to bite into pieces of pies out here in these streets and distribute, allot it among your countrymen, you made a decision that you're going to greedily be the only Black African that succeeds in your family. That is unfortunately what happened when wealth was redistributed to to Africans after it was taken away from them. So we hop way past the point of blaming white supremacy for our issues, blaming systematic oppression for our issues, because frankly, if it was not for how defeatist we are, we would not be as far gone and behind economically and the single most poverty-stricken demographic on the earth. We wouldn't be there if we had taken for granted the abolition of slavery, taken for granted the abolition of any kind of systematic oppression where black people were having a hard time. If we had taken for granted that thing and helped each other grow, raised one another from the ground, then we wouldn't be in this position. It is one of the biggest reasons why when I speak about Africa, I'm leaving out Morocco, them with their earthquake, the Lord have mercy on them. Maybe they should move over away from Allah and start looking at Jesus Christ. That's what's good. I'm not talking about Algeria. I'm not talking about Morocco. I'm not talking about Egypt, okay? Not right now. Kibuwaka, Southern African countries, West African, maybe East African, like Central Africa, where black people, like in this country, we have this very big demographic called Indian people, right? And Indian people share, I guess, a similar genome to the Arabs, like Asia. They're not all the same thing. Fine, you get the Chinese, you get the Japs, you get Asian and Indian. They're different. Arabic and Indian, different. So too is Arabic and Asian, different. But they share similar genomes and they tend to think similarly. And they're big on family. So really our version or tantamount of Arabs in South Africa are Indians. Yes, they are not Arabs. They are Indian, but they share a similarity. That's what I'm saying. So don't come at me for basically misappropriating cultures here. Okay, that's what's good. The one thing they have in common is family. They just get that. They literally just get that. So after apartheid was abolished in South Africa, the Indians took advantage of the fact that there is no longer any systematic oppression against them. And it's why they've grown the way that they've grown and why they're so strong today. And why even though life is hard for everybody in South Africa, the economy is currently falling apart, Indians are holding each other down. That's what's good. Everybody's holding each other down. However, black people, the defeatism, we all came out of apartheid together. We understand that Indian people had it better than us in apartheid, but they still were oppressed. That's what must be understood. And thanks to, what do you call this? Thanks to what it is that was the sliding scale of who's better than who in group areas act of South Africa, where they made Indians better than the coloreds, than the blacks, etc. I could go on. Because of that, sliding scale, they then also employed laws upon trying to redistribute or recompense the previously disadvantaged that also took into consideration the sliding scale. So things were tipped mostly in favor of black people when apartheid was abolished, which is yet more reason why it is that we are without excuse as black people. Like properly, yes, we were all afflicted, but we also were not just blanket, all just called the previously disadvantaged. They did still segregate it into colored, black, Indian. Why? Because the segregation was different in apartheid. Now, why then did black people, upon being given the biggest piece of the pie of retribution after apartheid ended, not take that for granted? Why? The Indians did it. Even the coloreds did it. Yet here it is that black people are literally almost as poverty-stricken as we were in the days of apartheid. And there's only like a handful of us that are doing really well, and these handful are selfish and greedy for the pie. They have taken all of it. They have not broken it into fractions in order to distribute it to their societies. They have not tried to invest in their communities in order that they might grow. They have literally kept the poor, and the sometimes doing well, they have ripped the carpet from underneath their feet. It's a black disease. They are defeatist in the worst way. So, when then you're a black person living in an African country with this as an issue, where your mom is bewitching you, your sister is bewitching you, your dog is bewitching you, your cat is bewitching you, your black colleague is bewitching you, your best friend is bewitching you, and then you get pulled from under your feet all different kinds of carpets, you trip, you fall, you break your nose and some teeth. And now you have no more opportunities in an economy that is flunking precisely because it won't let Karabo work. O pinky o mina o rinelwe o begi o jabu. Precisely because you have been sabotaged out of an entire career or an entire legacy. Where then are your options? Where are your options? When you're like Karabo and you don't want to go and sell Gwenya outside East Plaza shop or outside some corporate, telling them that you can make queen's cakes and selling them to call center agents before they clock in for work. If I were to rekisa madombolo outside of MTN, Wait, what are you gonna do, Escarab, when you still want to afford yourself a particular lifestyle, given that black people are deliberately blocking you from getting ahead? Indians are looking at you wagging their heads. White people are looking at you wagging their heads on some, what's wrong with black people? Everybody's like, what's going on? But they're not gonna do anything because, they've got a silo mentality. That is a sin that God is dealing with in them. However, that little silo mentality of theirs is precisely based on the fact that it appears we can't help these people anyway, even if we tried. So, I mean, like, when you don't want to die, when you don't want to just, like, kick the kicks of a dying horse, the last kicks of a dying horse just outside of MTN or Rekisa Magwenya especially, no fish. If you don't want to be that thing, if you don't want to have literally once upon a time been a whole program manager that is now selling Queen's cakes, go Bree Street. Proper, that's what South Africans do to each other. That's what Africans do to each other. This is not just a South African issue. Black people do this across the board. I told you, I've been slapped kitty clara by a Nigerian guy, another chick from like Zimbabwe, a dude from Congo. It's an African problem. It's a black person problem. No, it's not an African problem. In Northern Africa, where you are dealing with people that look like the Arabs up there, Algeria, Morocco, I could go on. No, they're not that defeatist. They're not that defeatist. This is literally something, it has everything to do with skin color. There is neither Jew nor Greek, all are one in Christ. Black nor white should not exist. There's only one race, and that race is the human race. But black people have literally seen it fit to make sure that they grab all the myths, the typicalities, and stereotypes that have been spoken about them and proven them right. Saying basically that skin does matter because you literally have got this characteristic way about doing things that only dwells in your skin tone. It's you blacks. And I'm a black person confessing that that's true. It might account for the fact that it likely can be explained with generational curses and the fact that people tend to stay within their racial groups when it comes to procreating and moving generations forward. So why this thing seems trapped in people with just our skin tone is, I suppose, because of the defeatism of people with our skin tone continuing to procreate more people with our skin tone. So maybe this generational curse might just enter into the white community, Indian community, when more intermixing of people comes together, and then your child basically is her mother's daughter, given that she's half black, half white, and so she does a typical thing. I don't know, but largely this is concentrated, this particular trend, this phenomenon is concentrated in the black community in the worst way. So when then you don't want to be the former whole university graduate that is now just selling the quota, kokasi, unable to get out of that mold. Yeah, what else do you have to bring your swagger back? Where when you want economic oomph, when you want to plump yourself up the way that you used to, given that your neighbor is busy shooting you in the head, given that your cousin is busy shooting you in the foot, given that your mama is busy shooting you in the breast, like everywhere you got bullets coming in from everybody in the black community, so defeatist that they can't breathe. That's what's good. And then they complain when somebody puts a whole knee on the neck of George Floyd and he says he can't breathe, and it's like, but black people, you made yourself struggle to breathe first, so why are you complaining when a white man makes George Floyd struggle to breathe? I feel as if though you're the first asphyxiation in the black community. Like literally number one is you. Charity begins at home. Galega lukisa inside bail. Therefore, when you do not want to just roam around in an African typicality where you've lost everything and you just can't come up for it, everybody knows but nobody wants to confess it, where do you go? Well, I mean, it's 2023 and now everybody got Wi-Fi at the mall. Now everybody got Wi-Fi routers in their own households. The internet is a way out of the African typicality. The internet is a way out of the sabotage by Africans of other Africans, and again I will keep on saying black Africans in particular. It is a way out. It is literally a way out. It is a way out of a black boss giving you grief just because wakompita on a very dumb level and sabotages your entire career. It is your way out of your best friend that's going to come up against your husband. You're like proper. The way Balwa and Angating, you go and you breach your girl to not marry so that every guy in the ecosystem looks at her like she's stank. Well, I mean, I guess you're going to go online dating then, aren't you? So you can meet a dude chilling all the way in Australia that is not under the Principality of South Africa. So you still get married anyway, just not to Jabu. Now it's to Patrick. In Australia, that's what's good. Next thing you out here, go out back in Australia with the kangaroos doing a wonderful thing. The way out of the African typicality for those who have got a brain to basically break out of the mold of the thing that almost suffocated them to death is the internet. It is online streams of making money. It is selling things on Etsy, selling things on Amazon, selling books, blah blah, etc. It is writing in a blog, monetizing that, getting ad revenue. It is selling t-shirts, do you understand? Print on demand. It is coming up with all different kinds of entrepreneurial endeavors on the internet, streams of income. It is teaching abroad English to people who want to learn English because you are struggling to get a job as a teacher in South Africa, or it's paying some stupid money and you're not trying to do that. So you then teach some Asian kid how to speak English. Even though you work crappy hours, it's good money. Because you have to take into consideration time zones. Guys, the cash cow for Africans trapped in an African typicality is literally the internet. It is coming up with a social media idea. It is business strategizing around building a whole audience for yourself based on your ability to indeed make those queen's cakes or those cheesecakes or those magwenyas, but to an audience that's going to pay you a pretty dollar for selling those queen's cakes instead of you getting 10 rand for magwenya that you are selling to some call center agent outside MTN. Now you are baking on a YouTube channel and you have got like 500,000 people watching you make a magwenya. And that in comparison to tengisa magwenya outside of MTN. On that day, you're an entrepreneur. On that day, you're an entrepreneur. You're not the chick that sells a magwenya. You are a businesswoman. You stop being the chick who tengisa magwenya. Onugi a chicks in. But you become the businesswoman. Like going from selling clothes outside of your boot, a car open in some strange passage in downtown Joburg, to opening a boutique store. Those are two different leagues. You are no longer the weird guy that's always walking around in the street on some, hey mommy, this would look really good on you. I feel like this dress would look real pretty on you. Versus people walking into your store and paying a handsome penny for something hanging on a rail without anybody even bugging them to buy it. Massive differences. So basically, the online space has grabbed Lay Janes and Lay Joes who got fired from their jobs without cause that can do hair to then become stylists with channels literally running into the millions in terms of subscribers on YouTube, in terms of followers on TikTok. Like, you just braid a woman's hair and like put a time lapse on it, have people watch it, and people love to watch creative talent. And next thing, you've got yourself an easy 5,000 new followers just from that one live stream alone. That's what's good. So you go from being just a chico lochang that everybody underestimates, even though she does some pretty good braids, to the businesswoman. Like, you become a businesswoman. When now you're buying a whole mansion in Bryanston, honey, on that day, you're not the braiding chick. You're the business mogul. And all you do are YouTube videos. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys right now is that the way that Africans crack out of the typicality of black Africanness, when you're just suffering from the defeatism of your fellow man. We are not all defeatist. We are not all crazy in the brain. But when so many people are clutching their purses, making sure that nobody steals from them, and when also so many people are suspicious of everybody, and also when so many people are worthy of being suspected because they are destroying other people's lives. When then that is like a whole thing that is going on, guys, where are you gonna go? Like, if you cannot talk to people, if you can't talk sense into people to stop doing this thing, man, come on, don't you see that we should stand together? We stand in camaraderie. If we don't support each other, who will? Charity begins at home. We are already the most underestimated single demographic on the earth. Everybody, when they look at us, they've already got these preconceived notions as to what we're gonna say, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna react. If we don't acknowledge each other and hold each other up, when is everybody else going to ever respect us? I was watching a short by this one Nigerian content creator, right? A Nigerian perspective. I watched quite a lot of his shorts on YouTube, and he was covering this one Asian lady. She was covering this one Asian lady from China who went on holiday to Paris, right? And she nearly got robbed. Like, she nearly had her phone stolen from her. And she was busy explaining this with her like Chinese accent and whatnot, but in English, right? She was like, okay, I'm not even going to try and copy a Chinese accent because I don't know how to do it. But she was basically saying something along the lines of, oh my goodness, I was in Paris. And Paris is like supposed to be this like city of love. But I was surprised. I was expecting to see all different, like I was only expecting to see white men, like white people. But then instead there were all these blacks over there type thing. And that's why basically I dealt with the situation of my phone getting stolen, or almost getting stolen, almost getting robbed. This is a woman that comes from a country where in her little circle, she already has got a preconceived notion of what black people are like. And she already imagines us as these thieves, these robbers, these people that break into houses and steal phones. And when then she goes to Paris, the city of love, she expects to see white people and then is disappointed when she sees blacks. And then she is endured through what she imagines to be a typical experience at the hands of black people. And when then you are dealing with a world full of people like that, when you are in a world full of such ignorant people who can easily on social media talk about how I expected Paris to be full of nothing but white people, but instead there were all these blacks, it is no wonder my phone went missing. Why in the world and the heaven aren't you even trying to change that narrative? We understand she was robbed or burgled, mugged, whatever, by a black person. But if at all she was educated properly by black folk, she would understand that some black people are out of their minds and they will steal your purse. They will steal your phone. However, we're not all like that. Now that woman probably clutches a purse every time she's in the presence of any black person. And frankly, I would be hurt if she did that in my presence because I'm not a thief. I would be hurt if any other person would get upset, annoyed, maybe even angry if she were to do that. But what other alternative does she have to look at when it comes to black people? Like proper. Having been incubated, go China, and then gotten out of that, what is going to train her differently? If she then were to make a trip to one of the African countries, the black African countries, and then just experience black people being as barbaric as black people are typically barbaric, what in the world? Like, you shoot yourselves in the foot. All these stereotypes keep on hyping up and climbing and climbing and hyping up and climbing and climbing. Even when you enter into, they say that violence is the sport of unintelligent men. When you continue to be violent, even though you've got money, when you continue to be full of sabotage and backstabbing and backbiting and manipulation and all that, when you have arrived, you're unintelligent. Like properly, you are violent and unintelligent. It is therefore the responsibility of the gentrified black conglomerate to do a better thing by each other, while people who are still struggling in squalor and poverty will likely keep on a typical thing. I understand that poverty begets crime. I understand that if you keep a certain people group in sorrow, they will likely steal just to get their day's bread. Now, it is clear to the whole planet that black people are among the most impoverished people anywhere at all that they find themselves on the earth. So where it is that there will be poverty, there will be crime. So there is a correlation. I will absolutely put that out there and not disregard the issues, the socioeconomic problems that black people have. They do have them. Okay, I do understand that a lot of these kids end up doing crime because they proper don't have opportunities. And if you gave them opportunities, it would likely reduce the crime statistics. But I'm not talking here about the poor. Y'all need to understand, I am not communicating about poor Africans. I'm not out here lamenting about abantu abahlala emikhukhwini deep sluit, guys. I'm talking about the middle class. The people who have put me in a position to suffer like this are middle class. They are not typical blue-collar criminals. They are not people that you're going to find grabbing a dinky C off a tuck shop, like off a spaza shop shelf and walking out without paying. No. I am not speaking about Ikotani that can only go to the bash Zakokasi and not have a proper 9-to-5 job, and yet somehow where they got that money, don't nobody know. I am speaking about the person that was raised in a middle class family, earmarked to be middle income and upper middle income, maybe even wealthy. These are the guys that are stabbing each other in the back, giving absolutely nobody a reason to imagine that black people are any different. Like when you go to the slums of black neighborhoods and there's a lot of crime, I kind of get it. Like, there are so many explanations as to why that's even happening. But when there is literally the same level of crime, but this time it's more white collar than it is blue collar because it's using witchcraft, and frankly I don't even think witchcraft is white collar. I think it's blue collar. It's textless. It's more like a cash and transit heist and Jeffela bombing an SBV truck and go highwaying. It's a blue collar crime, guys. It's not white collar. It's not sophisticated. It's not like embezzling money. I'm sorry. Witchcraft, but I'll give it the title white collar because of its anonymity and how some of the most prolific people on the earth hide behind it. And they are whole entire prominent freaking politicians, and they are whole entire prominent business executives and whatnot. So I'll call it white collar for only those reasons, because of who does it and the anonymity and them imagining it gives them an edge, a swagger that nobody else does. They think that it is the thing that has made them the goose that lays the golden eggs, like proper. So these white collar wannabe criminals, that's what's good. What in the world is going to teach the world any different about your typicality as a black person when you do this to each other? that chick from Asia that spoke all that smack about black people. I was tempted to be angry at her, but at the same time, as a black person suffering at the hands of other black people, I kind of got where she was coming from. Only difference was that I was offended slightly because I'm in the skin tone. But if I was a white girl, I would probably low-key just be like, I agree with you, girl, and then go on right ahead to pretend like I find her detestable. I'm just being honest. It is only my skin color that made me feel offended because I am in the blanket of the people that she thinks are just these disgusting criminals that keep on stealing from everybody. But my experiences at the hands of black people made me low-key relate with her in a way that if at all my skin was different from black, I would have no qualms about agreeing with her in my own little hypocritical suit where I will never confess to anybody that I stand with her black people are out of line. Only thing that separates me from the white girl that low-key agrees with her is the fact that I'm a black girl, and so I, of course, am offended. Because how are you going to say that about my people? It's a rock and a hard place. I'm in a catch-22. It's a bittersweet thing here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, proper, I don't understand how to feel. Because I get where she's coming from. Like, she has been trained that black people are a certain way, but black people have not done anything, much anyway, to untrain her. Uneducate her. You are entitled to respect, and yet you have done nothing at all to earn it. You like, yes, guys, I'm so mad at black people that even when they die, I'm like, oh yes, Mango Sutu Buthelezi recently passed away. I was like, he was probably yet another prominent king that has got, what do you call this? Sorcerers and magicians around him. At his deathbed, he was probably having somebody reiterate tagazelo to him, burning him pepper without actually giving prayers up to Jesus Christ. I just made an assumption that he was a devil worshipper. Because when you get to that level of prominence as a black person, apparently, allegedly, so manje mina ngenzeni angimzwelanga ubuhlungu omunye umntwana, and he probably, maybe, it's likely that he might have died in Christ, but I made an assumption that he didn't. I made an assumption that he died ajele madimoni amangata, and all I could say was good riddance nili Kenya kaofela. Listen to South Africa when Mandela kaofela lekopane nje fela listen to South Africa. You caused the country to worship demons, so whatever, I don't care. You've made me cold. You've made me consider my people a typicality. And frankly, I adore being black. If it was not for me being black, I wouldn't look this good at 39. But yes, like it is a burden. It is a burden, especially in Africa. Because anitandani, there is no love. And there is nothing enviable or covetable other than the fact that your skin don't crack. At 50, you look 19. Other than that, what in the world else do I have to desire about being black? Nkampane nakalo age like sour milk. I would much rather age like sour milk, having barely any melanin in my skin, and have love and family, respect, honor, camaraderie among people, than to have absolutely no family and look like a vampire at the age of 90 looking 20. Like, if me looking 22 at the age of 90 means that I'm going to be at the age of 90 all by myself with nobody loving me because everybody's competing with me violently in defeatism. Hi, it's okay. Let me look like a harmonica. My skin so creased, like it goes up and down. It sounds like a harmonica. I'm good. Let me age at the speed of lightning. With doting kids, a loving husband, with a whole entire circle or a community that will panic when I haven't returned home in a couple of hours. Not somebody that's going to check up on me only after 5 days when it starts to smell bad because I haven't come out of a certain environment and so I might just be dead. Yo, like what? There's one celebrity in this country, black lady, that passed away, and she was found by was it a mail delivery guy or a gardener that imagined that something was suspect, and it was a couple of days since she died when she was discovered. None of her family members checked on her. Nobody checked on her. Nobody. Like, no one. What's going on? That's why I'm sorry. I'm not going to kill myself over and above the fact that it's just wrong in the sight of God. I fear him. I also don't want my body to get found with since the maggots, for crying out loud. And there is now a stench, and nobody's checking on me, and oh, look, and check this out. Like, literally, I live with people on the same property, and yet it is very possible for me to not get checked up on because I've got such enmity with my family members. There is such strife between us that sometimes I give up an entire 48 hours, 3 days, 4 days. I avoid them. Do you understand? So I go in the house at strategic times. And I can thoroughly go through, albeit them living on the same property with me, without seeing the faces of my sister and my mom. For a whole week, it's entirely possible. So you must understand that if I were to disappear in here for 5 whole days without coming out, they might not pick it up until there is a stench, or until my cat starts to act funny, or it meows so much that ultimately my mother's like, what's going on? Why is this cat meowing inside where Karabo is at? without coming out? Why does it keep scratching the door? That would be the only thing that would cause suspicion. Not necessarily checking up on me. I don't get checked up on. In the same way that I avoid them, they avoid me. That's the black family. What the heck? I'm sorry. So, black don't crack, yeah, whatever, because everything else is. Everything else is falling apart. Everything else is the earthquake in Morocco. Everything else is a 7.2 magnitude earthquake in the black community, even though our melanin makes sure that we look 30 at 90. I'm properly like cool with aging at the speed of lightning, with love, and people checking up on me and finding out literally 5 seconds after I've died that such a thing as that has happened. Black people, I'm sorry. Hadi, the world has issues liking you. And I get why that's the case, where before I was kind of upset about it. Because in the middle class of black folk, middle income, so you properly have money. You're not poverty stricken, so nobody can account for why you're so defeatist and violent, why you're not having the back of each other. It can't possibly be an every man for himself phenomena. That is a survival instinct that if everybody is thrown in dire straits, you can see why a mother would abandon a child at the river. Think of the case, for instance, of Hagar and Ishmael in the wilderness. Like Hagar wanted to love her son and take care of her kid, but she was about to die, so what she did was leave her child at a distance after feeding the kid, giving the kid the last bit of water in the wine sack. Do you understand? And was like, I don't want to see my child die. So she literally abandoned her own child so she didn't have to watch him die. That's an every man for himself situation that is sort of understandable, right? I'm gonna go and do my own thing because at this place, there is no room for me to be a mom that's walking around with a baby because it's going to die in my arms. But then the Lord had mercy on Hagar, told Hagar, go get the baby. I'll feed you. I've got plans for you, big ones. You're going to be a whole big nation. Your son is going to be ABC. So they got to live. However, now they're the biggest like randomers against the Israelites. That's what's good. All that war in the Middle East is because of what happened over there with Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and blah, blah. But anyway, another story for another day that's what's good. So, black people, when you are middle class folk that aren't Hagar or Ishmael, where there's more than enough to go around for wonke muntu, everybody can eat and then some every single day. Everybody can get some clothes on their bodies and then some every single day. Everybody got shelter on their heads and then some every single day. Everybody got internet. Everybody got everybody got something. Everybody's educated. Wonke muntu is guaranteed to at least get to matric. Education is not something that's hard to come by. And even every child in that particular family, when they do matriculate and don't want to go to university, they're guaranteed at least a call center job because their aunt is going to connect them or their mom or their whatever. When you're in that ecosystem, it's not every man for himself. And you still abandon kids to get nowhere. You still leave people to rot on the side of the street like it's every man for himself. You still leave your sister to wither away. I mean, in black families, guys, it's such a travesty. I promise you right now. There are entire CEOs, like people who run entire organizations, who have got families living in shacks. Ko Soweto or ko some informal settlement to ko deport. It's like I literally have never understood that. I've never understood that. Growing up, maybe it's because I never had family that was so poor that there was anybody living in a shack. Again, I told you, middle income. So we don't know that kind of poverty. But there are properly families where Umuntu is properly like a premier of parliament. Like he's a spokesperson for the country. But he's got like a cousin or a brother. Sometimes it's like immediate family. It's so bad. Living in Kukwini, kid cannot pay school fees, facing deregistration from university. But your uncle is the prime minister of the country, or he's the municipal councillor in your city, or mayor. Your uncle is the mayor, and yet here it is that you cannot go back to second year COVID because I not patala di school fees last year. Really? Muntokona is living in a mansion. Do you understand? He's got 2, 3, 4 cars. So I mean, what's 30,000 rands between family? To pay off for kids like remaining fees at Wits University. What's 30k between fam? When you've got like a Porsche and a Lamborghini and you are still planning to buy another one tomorrow. You keep getting promoted. That's the black dynamic. Telling themselves, we used to be collectivistic, where we would help one another along. But then money came in. Like real money, as in good money, not just scraping by. And that's where it's when the good money came in. That now it was about bragging, it was about flashing, it was about flexing, and you're now going to be flexing literally in front of a whole thriving, gifted kid that could finish an engineering degree at Wits, but you're not going to to help them finish it because of the fact that that kid is not under heaven ever going to compete with you or even your child. Or maybe you're so defeatist that you're coming up against your own child. You proper want to be the only one. And what's worse as well is that you go and you visit Amasangoma to go and bewitch your whole family so that everybody's laid waste and you're the only one that's successful, so that everybody falls apart. That's the kind of stuff that accounts for why there was a whole uncle living in a mansion in Houghton and a niece that is scraping through. Can't even buy noodles, Maggie 2-minute noodles at university. Got the uncle Yam runs these streets. What? It happened with my dad. Yeah. When I came to Christ, I took the responsibility on my shoulders because I recognized the folly of that. Since I was making money, I took my dad off the street, or tantamount of the street. He was living in squalor. He squandered his entire life, but at the end of the day, he was my dad. So I put him in like a whole apartment with 2 bedrooms in it, so that my brother, my late brother, would with my dad, would be able to visit my dad anytime he wanted to. So I forfeited getting my own apartment so that my dad could live somewhere because I knew that I could live with my mom. And I also wanted to pay off all my debt so that I could buy a house. And I knew that I was going to grow financially because I was just like going from strength to strength in terms of my career. So I knew that at some point I would be able to basically afford all of us. That's what's good. But my dad, when I then fell apart, right? I lost everything. And he also betrayed me. Let's just put that out there. Ultimately, he stabbed me in the back. Like, whoa, bit the hand that feeds you. Anyway, this man had all the way up until that date before I could afford to help him along. That's what's good. To this day, Unale, he's got a wealthy cousin. He has got a wealthy cousin that is affiliated to some of the most prolific politicians in this country. That has a house in the neighborhood ya Nelson Mandela Go Houghton and some other houses across, never mind South Africa, but Africa. Hey, but guess what? His cousin is living in Umkuku that is barely kept, with barely any food in his stomach and barely anybody taking care of him. Like, the guy nearly died from tuberculosis. And it was only when I intervened with my older sister that he got any intervention. They were willing to let him die because they thought he was a burden. The judgment that these people are facing at the last day in the eyes of Christ is astronomical. But you see, that's the thing, they're nihilistic. Like, you're nihilistic to carry on like that and imagine that you're going to be okay tomorrow. You don't believe there's a God, so you do whatever you want. Like, you hold on. It's like the parable. It is a parable, yeah, of the rich man that wanted to store up for himself a whole bunch and says, I'm rich now, I'm safe for the future. And the Lord said of him that he's a foolish man. Tomorrow he will die, and then somebody else will come and basically take his wealth. But rather that he must store up his treasure in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and thieves do not come in and steal. Instead of lana on earth, where moth and rust destroys, and thieves come in and steal. So people in the black community have got that as a problem. They're like the rich man. They are hoarding. And then like Mangosuthu Buthelezi, boo, dead. Like Mandela, boo, dead. Like any of these other people, Credo Mutwa, boo, dead. Desmond Tutu, boo, dead. AKA, boo, dead. They pass away. And everything they were amassing for themselves then is taken by other people. So given that a lot of these millionaires and billionaires, like a lot of these people who have a lot of money, given that they can never spend it all, like Patrice Motsepe, he's gonna die a billionaire. Given that he in his lifetime can never spend it all, and he can never even give enough of an inheritance to his children to justify why he's holding on to so much of it, why not just give it all away? Like, literally, give it all away except for an inheritance, a decently sized inheritance for your children, and of course a decently sized retirement for yourself, given that you are catering into the fact that you're still going to be living a little minute longer. Mr. Akamen Naye, he passed away with billions, or is it millions, whatever. He was just like a whole retail mogul in this country. Like, you literally do not have to hoard all that money. You don't have to, because tomorrow you will be dead and somebody is going to squander it. Are people gathering for themselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and thieves do not come in and destroy? Well, I can tell you from my own experiences with black people that absolutely not. They are hoarding and hoarding and hoarding, and then boo, dead. So given that that's the status quo of the black community, and given that there's not enough black people you can snap out of it, Like, you can try and come up with be a little bit of a protagonist, for a struggle on some black people. Stop. Goodness, I'm not the first person to speak this about black folk, actually. MT, that rapper in the country, even had a song where he was like, Umdomnyama gafun, umdomnyama aye pezulu, umdomnyama gafun, umdomnyama aye pambili, whatever. That means a black person doesn't want a black person to go ahead to get forward and what have you. So I'm not the first person to try and be a protagonist for the black, against the black defeatism. I ain't. So that what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that when there is not enough trying to talk sense into people, I've been sitting in the squalor for 10 whole years, almost 10 years. It's going to be 10 years next year. It's 9 years. I like to run it off to the nearest decade. That's what's good. I have been suffering like this and my whole family are middle class. I've got people working in corporate South Africa in executive levels in my family. I'm not talking call center agents. I am not talking, just scraping through, barely making it business analyst. I am talking, you are in a position to literally nepotistically put me in a chair and ain't nobody gonna argue with you because you're the executive. And I'm sitting here unemployed. That is black people for you. So, ankibuwi nakabato baho sebeta the peace job, everybody's a domestic worker, so really every man for himself. No, that's not my family. It ain't my family. We ain't about that business at all. That's what's good. And yet they hope that one of them is going to go out outside of MTN. Proper. While some people wearing the guai that I'm supposed to be wearing, look at me underestimating the living daylights out of me, even though I very potentially would be better at the job that they're doing, or I'm potentially smarter than them. But ain't nobody care because I just did not happen to crack it through, except I did crack it through. And then the rug was pulled from underneath my feet. And then nobody stood with me. So what then is the option for Karabo out here in these streets? What does Karabo do when she cannot talk black people out of their insanity? I've tried for an entire decade. It's not working. I can't talk to them. I guess, since we're all alone, every man for himself, and black people are not even trying to unconvince the Asian girl to not be so racist, I'm gonna try and get out of this. So you become a little bit of a Lone Ranger warrior, a little bit of a Will Smith in the pursuit of happiness, trying to break through. Everybody's underestimating you. A little bit of Taraji's husband in the movie Acrimony. Like, you coming up with a prototype. You want to break through. You want to try. What's And the way that black people have realized is a way out of the African typicality is the internet. I can't say that enough. A lot of us don't have startup capital A lot of us do not have startup capital to hook up a business from scratch of sorts that requires startup capital. Neither are we advanced enough to be gazed upon by angel investors or venture capitalists. And of course, ain't no bank gonna finance us. That's what's good. So we don't have money because in order apparently allegedly to make money, you gotta have money. So what is the best way to make money? What an excellent innovation in 2023 when you have 0 rand, when you've got nothing to your name. Goodness, your brain, your talent. Can you sing? Can you eat? Can you bake? Can you this and that? Can you plait hair? Can you just talk a whole bunch of rubbish? Can you tell jokes? Yeah. Now, there is this social media environment that requires 0 capital sometimes. Even if you don't have internet, you can get it at the mall, free Wi-Fi. Upload some random dumb stuff and have people laugh at your jokes and subscribe to you. And if you get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, you can monetize. It is a capital-free, investment-free, startup capital, initial capital-free strategy. The internet is a 0 capital business. Do you understand? For so many people, you don't have to have a single cent other than internet. And even that, in this current society, you find it free and very fast at the mall. So when I just go to Southgate and upload once a week, and after a year, you're monetized. You're monetized. You just need a basic smartphone and you are monetized after a year. And you are starting to earn a salary and the salary will increase. Even loftier in its increments than a job in corporate. Where it is that you're getting stupid little 5-6% every single year. No. On YouTube, based on how big you grow per season, you could find yourself going from earning 3,000 rands of ad revenue after just like the first monetization, after getting 1,000 subscribers, and after 5 months you might find yourself getting 15,000. After a year you might find yourself getting 30,000. You can grow that violently. Salary increases that are unimaginably astronomical in comparison to at least the ones that you find in corporate South Africa. And people are seeing this in increasing measure. The other day, some time ago actually, maybe like a few months back, I went to FNB to open some easy account in order to be able to access PayPal monies. And this lady was was asking me what this is about, and I was honest with her. And she was like, is there really any money in YouTube videos? And we had like a whole conversation. I was like, yeah, absolutely. You can have like it for a side hustle, but it is also very possible for you to basically quit your job right now as a banker. She was a she was a banker. She was a banker. The PP inquiries. Yeah, what was bank? She was a banker. Now, you probably think that can earn you quite a handsome amount of money. Let me explain the banking system for you in South Africa when it comes to employment. It doesn't pay very much when you are in the branches of banks. Bankers, people that start to earn some real serious money for being in that financial services industry, are the ones that have gone through Go University, maybe even gotten their CPA or their CA, Chartered Accountancy, and are working essentially as either economists or econometrists, or even if they are bankers, they are within portfolios. They start to make money if they've got like heavy hard knock degrees. But the guys working teller jobs, inquiries clerks jobs, banker jobs, the ones who help you open your account, their salaries are quite they're lackluster, they're meager. I used to work in banking, I would know. They were underpaid, like in the worst way. So Joanna, when you're sitting opening people's accounts, they call them bankers, that's what's good. When you're sitting opening people's accounts, that's what's good. And then somebody tells you that you can basically make, what is this, like an extra 3,000 rands a month, an extra 5,000 rands a month, maybe even 10,000 rands a month, just by telling jokes or sharing even your banking skills on YouTube. Why wouldn't they want to do it? This chick was so interested that, I mean, of course, there was a queue. There were people behind me. You could tell she wanted to hold on to me so she could get more information. But at some point, the conversation had to end because her services for me in helping me along were finished. They were done and I had to go. Couldn't hold other people up at the back and what have you. But that was a woman that was frustrated by what she imagined to be the restrictedness of her career. And when she was listening to somebody talking about a whole career, or at least attempting one on YouTube, she wanted to know more. She wanted to know more. I wouldn't be surprised if after that she went and Googled it, researched it, tried to find out how in the world am I going to get out of this mold? I don't want to be here anymore. When am I going to get out of the bank? That's what's good. So for a lot of Black Africans, all that when we discover the potential gold mine that is YouTube, for us it's like, well, this is my way out of the typicality of Africa. We are not all the same. A lot of us are frustrated by how defeatist that we all can be. But it is not enough of us that are protagonistic enough to actually spark a revival among us to make us less defeatist. And in the run-up to everybody waking up and smelling the coffee, must I then lose an entire 10 years of my life? Must I then lose an entire 15 years of my life? Must I accept selling dikota outside of MTN when I'm a whole genius? Must I accept it? No. So they are branching out and they're finding online streams of making money and they're making big dollar. Do you understand? Big dollar. Literally, it's in dollars, not so much rands. It gets eventually converted into rands, but it is dollar dependent. You know that. That's YouTube, right? It belongs to America. That's what's good. Now, if at all you can't work, or if you can't have a purpose in life that makes you wake up every morning and, try to achieve something in it, that is the kind of stuff that can cause macabre, suicide ideation. When you feel empty, listless, like there's nothing in this world that you're doing, it can make you want to die. When you can't work, when you can't achieve anything, because everyone has blocked everything you're trying, that is a death curse. That is death row. That's the kind of thing that eventually lends a person to suicide. Y'all might be saying, Karabo, you're extreme, relax. No, I'm not. South Africa has got the second highest suicide rate in the world. Number 2 to no one but Russia. Boloi Balona has put people in the grave because you have taken away careers. You've taken away purpose from people. Dreams. You've made sure that umuntu gets to the age of 27 with no future. They're only 27. Like everything, the rugs that were pulled from underneath my feet were pulled from underneath my feet from around the age of 26, 25, 26 by friends. But the effects of the sorcery, or at least what would appear to be the effects of the sorcery, because I gave my life to Christ, so there's no real effects here. I'm just a monolith, a prototype for the Lord showing you what you do to people. Otherwise, the Lord would have given me what I wanted just like that at the snap of a finger. But like I said, He's made me an example for whatever reason He will have on high, and I respect it. I honor it. But if at all I did not have Him, it would have taken 4 years, more or less, to finally rob me of an entire future. A woman that had yet to be married, yet to have any children, and was basically starting a very successful career. She was going from height to height. What happened to me happened at the age of 29. In 2014, I was turning 30 that year. I was still 29, however. The rug was pulled from underneath my feet at the age of 29. I mean, that is a person that hasn't even... They might as well just have come out of their mother's wombs saying goo goo gaga. They haven't started anything. They haven't done much. And then you're like, you're going to stop. You're going to retire at 30. When she was working a 9 to 5, she wasn't even an entrepreneur. Had not ever tasted her first million. And you were like, just stop. Just stop. An ambitious person that can no longer be ambitious because it's worthless to be ambitious because they've been blocked. They've had their doors closed on all sides. Guess what happens? After 4 years of trying and nothing is coming through. They grab a noose, write a letter, and go into eternity. And so on and so forth. South Africa has got the second highest suicide rate in the world. Second to no one but Russia. So here it is that a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed African girl that is thoroughly unimpressed with all of the rubbish of her defeatist fellow African countrymen around her is like, yes, then I don't need you and hook up a little bit of a schotela on your shoe. Yeah. Because I got YouTube. Because I got Facebook. Because I got TikTok. I can do makeup on TikTok. Even though you sabotaged my career. You made sure that I get fired from a call center. Small center. Get 10,000 rand salary. I'm going to make 20K in 1 week by just doing makeup tutorials on TikTok. Yeah, when a person is literally trying to get their own after being sabotaged, telling even her enemies that I mean, that is surviving the African defeatism. And then Joe Biden is like, gah, just slams another door. Oh, sure, guys, there are consequences to everything, eh? There are consequences to everything. The Lord has seen the hard cry of Africans, especially black Africans, who are struggling with the black African defeatism. Black people are just defeatists. They hurt each other in the worst way. The world leading economy, or it still is, but it's dwindling. America loved the Lord at some point, and God gave them power to innovate. Innovate so much that they held literally a global monopoly on telecommunications and also on many online businesses. They held in a bunch, like all these exported businesses that we work on that we think have originated in our doorsteps because they operate in rands. Like Etsy, it's an American company that, however, has got like a South African branch. It's much like KFC or McDonald's. So you think it started here, but it's American. The Lord gave them all that because they honored him and they transported the gospel across the world. And he was like, I'm going to make you the apple of my eye and you're going to make the world happy. You're going to give options to everybody. You're going to fish out persecuted Christians from nations that don't love me. You are going to be my nation of solace. You're going to rub people's wounds. You're going to put salve into their open wounds and make them better. You're going to heal them. You're going to blow on their open wounds and make it all better, America. You're going to be the nation I have chosen to basically heal many Africans from the insanity of their fellow man. They are defeatists, pulling rugs underneath their feet, and I'm judging them for that. But in the run-up to me, ultimately, bringing my people to myself and helping them along, I'm going to help them survive the backstabbing by their best friends, the backstabbing by their companies, backstabbing by their fellow man, their moms, their dads, their sisters, their brothers. I'm going to help them survive through you, America. So God helps a Karabo that was sabotaged by a bad boss by giving Karabo a following on TikTok. Giving Karabo a whole subscriber base. Yeah, 5,000 subscribers after struggling and striving and pushing for Jara. But hey guys, I've made the 5,000 subscriber milestone. There is this one chick by the name of Charity Ikezio, whatever. She does little jokes and is very sarcastic about the world's ignorance over Africa. I like her. I follow her on YouTube. And all the milestones that she meets, she like puts them up. Like she will do a little post and put up a little like logo on some, I've reached 1 million or 100 million views so far on my channel, or I've reached 100,000 subscribers, and then she will show the plaque that she got from YouTube. YouTube verified my account, and she's so excited, jumping up and down. She's from, I don't know where Charity's from, but I know she's from Africa, right? Is she Nigerian? I stand corrected. I don't want to say where she's from because I'm not sure. Okay? Yeah, what Charity is exactly what many Africans ought be. It's what they should be when corporate Nigeria, corporate South Africa, corporate Kenya, corporate Botswana, Lesotho, I could go on, Namibia. It's just sabotaging black people. Because the moment you gain power, black people, and you start to become middle income, you compete so violently that you kick everybody out the way until your cousin is like a domestic worker when everybody else is in upper middle management in corporate South Africa. You studied more or less the same. You went to the same universities, but she is a domestic worker. What in the world is going on there? Why is somebody scanning groceries at Pick and Pay in a family that has got a whole executive of a big fat telco in South Africa? You should at least hook them up with an administrator job, pushing paper for some project managers, at least. And then she can grow from there. But instead, you keep on letting the girl go, do, got leaks. Kannete. Oh, kyabona hulukile. Ere tell ya got leaks. It'll start a YouTube channel and basically share what skills she has. And that's what the tellers at Clicks have been doing. And they are succeeding to quit their jobs at Clicks and get a 1-bedroom apartment go 4 ways, fully furnished with a flat screen TV where they can watch their YouTube videos after uploading them and feel a sense of achievement. And then Joe Biden goes and pulls a rug under that foot. I was sabotaged by America. I was growing my YouTube channel. It was the solution. It was the way out of African defeatism. I'd been talking to Africans for years. They weren't listening to me. It's about lawyer, boo, throwing bombs at me. At some point, I was even gloating on Facebook. I was like, look at how my channel is growing. I gained 100 subscribers in a week. Yeah, and then next thing, it just went dead quiet. Like, I literally gloated to my afflictors, okay? The people who put me in a position to suffer. They were busy working 9-to-5 jobs, having extracted me out of my 9-to-5. Like, my prosperity was taken away, but I'm gonna make my life again. I'm gonna get my apartment. I'm gonna monetize. They kept throwing witchcraft spells at me, whatever. I'm a prayer warrior. One spell casted on me, force field bar. After 2 days, I've recovered. That's me. I'm a very strong Christian. So, don't just sit on me. And that's actually the core message of this particular video. More than it is about America. It's about the fact that witchcraft, it does not do much. Other than maybe for a day to tikasisa kancane. Ukungitikasisa nje kancane. Bese kusasa grand food. Witchcraft don't do much in my life, no matter how much of it gets sent to me, by however many covens. Get strong, guys. I am a warrior in the worst way. In the spirit. In the spirit realm to the kingdom of darkness and demons. So human beings that operate with the devil and their entities. I'm very fearsome. That's what's good. It gets fierce. And so I was fighting every last spell they were casting on my growth, on my what, on my, like the little random from America, for instance. The wrinkles, like pop wrinkles overnight. Just become old overnight. Just age. It's just like bounced off my skin like oil on water. Nothing catches, nothing works with me. The witchcraft is not my biggest problem. It is the strategies of men when they employ them in a legal capacity, in an enforceable capacity, that is the barrier to entry. It is the rebellion of men in a very physical sense and not a spiritual one that is the bane of my existence. Because while I can cast out a demon from in my midst, I cannot cast out a decree from the President of the United States of America about what he's going to do to African content creators. There's nothing I can do about that. That would have to require a mind change in America by the powers that run the country. I'm just sitting in Africa. I've been fighting witches on brooms for years. How in the world do I fight Joe Biden and his mental decline? How do I fight Joe Biden and his liberal party that have got no scruples, no morals, to a point where they will allow some transitioning gay man insist on getting, what do they call this thing? And new ovaries. Like, get a transplant of the reproductive system of a woman just so he can have an abortion. And they trend that rubbish on their platforms, and some women have got a right to abort, except he's not a woman. He's a man trying to kill babies after getting a woman's womb, or at least through some experimental procedure of that nature. America coming up with such ideas as these, and the president is like, I am pro you, I'm supportive of you, let women have abortions as much as they want because it's their body, their choice. And then a man wants to become a woman, get an ovarian, like a transplant of a woman's reproductive system, just so he can have abortions. He even went on to say he will have as much gay sex as he wants, fall pregnant, only so he could abort. And that's who that man is standing for. A country that is that judged, falling apart that much, has now gone on right ahead to literally land a missile slap bang in the center of proverbial Afghanistan, except now it's in South Africa, where a completely innocent family is dying. Because the defeatism of black people in Africa has it such that the only way out now for that 18-year-old girl, the 25-year-old guy, the 30-year-old man is social media. They're gonna make money online. They're gonna sell t-shirts. They're gonna see if they can't sell their mechanic business, how they fix cars on the internet. See if people can't be interested when they explain what in the world is a carburetor. I don't even know what that is. That guy makes a decision to do that. Invest in his videos, buys all different kinds of, equipment, cameras and whatnot. Of course, ring light, lights, camera action, even during load shedding. You plan around in load shedding type thing. And then Joe Biden is like, you know what? Go on right ahead. And I'll give you a whole office in Capitol Hill. And then you're going to have also like a little kitchen with an island. In the morning, you're going to have tiny little finger sandwiches and talk about how you're going to destroy African content creators. Not taking into consideration what are the issues that African content creators are facing. So the 18-year-old girl, the 25-year-old guy, and the 30-year-old man, now having been fired from their jobs or unable somehow to grow because, of African defeatism. You've blocked them. You've closed all these doors on all sides. And really, frankly, he's made for more than this. He wants to get married. He's 30. He doesn't want to turn 40 without kids. He wants a wife, but how are you going to take a wife as a man when you don't have enough money? Take care of yourself. So he's trying to build a legacy. He's got time that he's looking at on some, by 35, I want to be married. And then he starts to grow, gets to like 700 subscribers. He's excited, knows that he's going to monetize at 1,000 and 4,000 watch hours. 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. And then Joe Biden is like gavel down, executive order, filters down, gets the message, YouTube, telecommunications, platforms that belong to America. They're going to use it now to make sure that they stay strong, to thwart the talent of certain people. And so that guy ends up finding himself stranded. Go 700 subscribers. That guy finds himself stranded now, unable to even get his long form content looked at. Here's this handsome young 30-year-old man that would get any woman out here in these streets saying, yes, I will marry you. But I mean, you know how shallow women can be. Don't nobody want to be with a man that ain't got no house. So he's trying to buy a house, poor thing. And he's got a little bit of a 2-year trajectory plan to buy his first, 2-bedroomed home after 2 years of being monetized on YouTube. And all that just comes crashing because of this executive decree from America. Now this guy, doesn't matter if he's Christian or not. Bottom line is he literally has no future. He can't look into the country because the country has spat him out. The nation is defeatist. His own people are not thinking straight. They're letting a handsome young guy rot, but he's going to go get his own anyway. He found an idea elsewhere. And then that falls apart. Same for the 18-year-old girl and the 25-year-old chiki. Boy 2, boy 3. They are now just wandering in the wilderness, twisting in the wind, unsure. Why did all of a sudden my growth on YouTube slow down so badly? Now my 2-year plan looks more like 5 years, 7 years. I don't have that long to wait. Unfortunately, human beings, especially when they have no Holy Spirit, struggle with delayed gratification. So when their goals get pushed out even further, and then they are tormented mentally by demons that keep getting sent to them by witches in their ecosystem. And that's the kind of stuff that will grab that 30-year-old man, even though he had a whole future looking ahead of him, to grab a noose and commit suicide. Kind of stuff to cause the 25-year-old to kill herself at 26, cause an 18-year-old to commit suicide at 21. Like, that's what's good. Like, that's what's happening. So South Africa would have killed that 18-year-old, but she had an idea. South Africa would have killed a 25-year-old, but she had an idea. South Africa would have killed a 30-year-old, but he had an idea. But then his idea was come up against by Joe Biden. You know how Afghanistan was already suffering, it was already struggling, America had pulled out, they were poor, everything was like food insecurity in Afghanistan is sitting on something ridiculous like 92% of people in Afghanistan apparently have got food insecurity. It was already bad. It was already bad there. And then you go and you grab like a family that's already struggling to make ends meet and you just end their lives. So I guess what you're saying there is, look, they were already hungry. At some point they were going to die. So I just helped them along. So I guess what Joe Biden is saying with me is that she was already hungry. She was already suffering. She was already going nowhere. Her life was already really sucky. I'm just helping her get there faster. There's more where they came from. That's just the thing about thinking that the earth is too populated, that human beings are just numbers, that they're expandable. That's the problem with thinking that way. Collateral damage is what you call casualties in war. More where they came from. I guess that's what happens in a country where the president is content with abortion up to 9 months. I mean, if they can kill babies up to 9 months in the womb, what's like some struggling random African woman? When people are viewed as expandable from as early as in their parents' stomachs, then, I mean, And I mean, when you also have a view of your own country as being better than everybody else and loftier than everybody else, I guess what's one South African in favor of an American? When America's not even at war with South Africa, at least not physically. Right now, it's a Cold War that's been declared, but we're not actually at war with the U.S. of A. So when then the behavior of Americans or the American leadership causes the fatalities of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of South Africans, that is a war. That is a war. That is just murder. It's massacring. That is a war. It is like sitting one day at school and then there's a bomb that lands in your particular school, killing all the students. It's a war that's just been declared, but you don't know that. Currently, we're not at war, not any outwardly declared one spoken on the rooftops with America. But what they have done is kill, land bombs. Like in 9/11, what happened with them? They were at work one day, next thing there was like a whole airplane in their Twin Towers. That was a war that was being declared on them, even though they didn't expect it. So here it is that there's an airplane now in our Twin Towers. Proverbial ones at that. Chilling in Johannesburg, hanging out in Cape Town. Just boo, landed. And it's all blue. And it is all red. And it is all white. It's all red, blue, and white. And it's like, well, I did not expect Osama bin Laden to come from America now. Except he has come from there. His name is Joe Biden. He has declared war on Africa, and it is going to get noticed. I have spoken this in the worst way. And it has killed people. It has lain people waste. It has made people commit suicide, give up on online careers. And now YouTube is my biggest afflictor, right? It was the one place that I was really looking forward to monetizing on. But there are so many other American platforms that are being sabotaged in this way by executive decree in America. It is basically everything that they have that they're sharing with the world. And they're using it to manipulate the outcomes economically of certain places. An example is Amazon. If you sell things on Amazon. An example is Etsy. Example is PayPal. Example is, what is this? You get my point, guys, okay? There are all these laws going on like all over, like even in Europe right now. They want to censor anybody at all that they feel is a little bit taboo, and they are forcing, or they tell themselves, they're telling themselves that they can tell YouTube. Do you understand what I'm saying? To censor somebody because lest somebody should hear it in Europe. It's a whole draconian law that has been passed in Europe by the European Union to protect the ears of European citizens. And instead of saying, America, block access to Europeans of certain content, they're saying, just censor them entirely from the world at large. So Africa's not complaining. Only Europe is complaining. Asia is not complaining. Only Europe is complaining. South America is not complaining. Nobody else is complaining other than Europe. They say that there's too much misinformation in the world, and their little contract with America has made them come up with some draconian law where they can tell YouTube what this thing that this African YouTuber is saying, this thing that this Asian YouTuber is saying, we don't like it. We don't want Europeans to see it. Why not just block access to that particular video to Europe then? Instead, they want to go and choke that whole entire video against the whole earth that does not have any such law. And you think the one world government is not yet here? So America is literally allying this way with everybody that's trying to censor everybody all over the show. And it's going to kick them in the butt so badly that they're eventually going to stop doing it for a season, however, and it's going to give people leg room to breathe. But not before lots of casualties happen first. This thing that has been decreed by this flaccid, fluffy, lackluster president of the United States currently has killed people. It has, from what the Lord showed me, it is similar to that landing of a bomb, blaster, bomb in Afghanistan that killed a whole civilian family, and Joe Biden was like, whoops. Let me just whoops. Like, the dude should be in prison for that. All he said was whoops. Him and everybody that pressed that button to shoot that particular location, they should all have some kind of culpable charges against them. At a minimum, culpably. At a minimum. But all they got to say as a whole country was whoops. And we have all forgotten about it now. But then the Lord was the one to bring it up and remind me of it. And he has just shown me that that decision by the leadership in the US has landed those similar kinds, metaphorically, of bombs everywhere across the continent of Africa and pretty much the rest of the world, but especially Africa. And people have died because of a hope they were looking forward to that got severed. Only look, for instance, how I recently was so incredibly suicidal because of demonic attack coming from, again, the black typicality. I have been getting attacked by a coven in South Africa full of black men, been targeted by some filthy animal from their own jail cells in America that's been trying to get me to die. I've been getting sabotaged by some black woman in this country that decided that I'm going to end up scanning groceries at the Pick and Pay I won't get anywhere. So basically the defeatism of black people I've been running like a headless chicken away from it. I've been running away from that defeatism like a headless chicken away from it. Or the defeatism of black folk. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I would have successfully run away from that coven. I would have successfully run away from the little animal in America. One of the little beasts, their little beasts that they unleashed on me. I would have just been like, whatever, dude. I got my own YouTube channel. It's growing. I've got a future to look forward to. But Joe Biden made my enemies successful. Joe Biden, or his administration, made my enemies succeed against me. He doesn't even know me. Neither the impact of what he has done is on my life. But I nearly died very recently because of black typicality. And the one way out that I was looking at, he took it away from me. Being the president of a country that God gave all that power precisely to help people like me along. The Lord gave America power because America honored him. America opened doors for people. America made it possible for people to find asylum when they were living in war-ravaged countries. America made it possible for persecuted Christians to have a healthy, thriving life, get married, have children, because they were extracted out of Iran or whatever. Their rescue efforts and their ability to provide freedoms to people that don't have them has been a crutch for many countries across the world for years. And God gave them that power, the innovation, He gave them superpower status because they were godly. They dwelt in His principles. They gazed lovingly and longingly into His precepts, and they honored Him. And so He made them a safe harbor for people enduring typicalities in their silly countries. He made them a safe haven for war refugees, even in a metaphoric or spatial sense or a digital sense. He made America a safe haven for war refugees, even if it was only digitally, without these people actually leaving their countries to live there. But they could find a way out of the grain of nothingness of their countries by using American means. But then America decided to weaponize their hand of help to the world and literally make barriers to entry, block certain people from coming in, making sure that everybody that is suffering a cold war, a cold-spirited insanity in a country that has gone to the dogs, much like what happened in the 90s in Rwanda, the Rwandan genocide, how people just went cray-cray. Yeah, like a little bit of a Rwandan genocide is happening. A little bit of a Rwandan genocide is happening in South Africa, frankly, where people are just doing whatever they want. The Houthis are fighting the Tutsis unto death. They're ravaging women. They're doing whatever they want with witchcraft. The country is under judgment. All over the show. There is no law and order. South Africa is falling apart. And those that are sick and tired of this situation are finding ways to survive digitally through America, have been until now. So Joe Biden basically turned his back on God. But he turned his whole country's back on God. His whole country's back on God. Because the very thing that God strengthened America for, they are now no longer honoring him concerning it. He gave them all that power and all that might, so people like me might find relief through them. Because he knew that other countries were so backward and so primitive in the way they think that they're not about to award people freedoms any minute now. But America made it possible for some of us to escape the grain of our silly countries full of genocide. And I tried to flee to America. Not physically. I would never want to live there. There's too much chaos. Maybe 10 years ago, I might have considered it. I tried to flee to America digitally, online. Do you understand? Something that they have historically just been so good at doing. They have been such an asylum safe haven for so many years, for so many causes. They have been such a bandage on so many people's wounds for so long. And now they have decided to close their triage center for the whole world and leave refugees knocking for help with resources available to them to help, because they're saying, sorry, no, we are only helping Americans here, even though there aren't even that many American soldiers hurt. Well, I mean, properly. God has not mocked America. Do not be deceived. You reap what you sow. Like, the moment you stop doing what God will have you do after he's given you power to do it, he will take the power away from you. And so America is about to experience a fallout with the world of people that are sick and tired of them. And it is already starting to happen. And it is going to be this fallout that's going to make them be like, look, we can strategize on other means, but let's just keep social media aloft for now. Let's leave it alone. Let's leave the strategy using social media to weaponizing social media against the world's citizens. Let's stop it. They're going to make it. It's going to be the first thing they decide to salvage themselves first by curing. The decision that was made from up tops, that was made by Joe Biden, is going to be changed. Based on yet another recommendation by the same caucus, the same little advisory body that told him, that advised him to do this. They're going to retract. They're going to change their mind because they've been observing the reaction of it ever since they started it, how it's affected them as a nation. The lashback, the pushback, the negative PR, the fire that they're going to, the fires that it has started. They're going to want to fight it by stopping, and then they're going to deny that they did that because it is a clandestine operation that is not covert or overtly communicated to even some of the most loftiest members of the government. Therefore, they're just going to shut it silently, and pretend it never happened. And then I told you guys that some people are even going to lose their jobs at YouTube. Some people are going to lose their jobs at Facebook because they're going to want a scapegoat. They're going to want a scapegoat, but these people who will be losing their jobs will be paid to basically plead guilty. Even though they were given an instruction to do this by the government, they will be given an incentive, they will be given a payout of some sort, like hush money, by the government to plead guilty, and they will then be set for life so that they will act as if though they went rogue. I already told you guys about this, and it is when that happens that finally America is going to once again be, digitally anyway, certainly not physically, an asylum for many battered people across the world that are trying to flee from their silly countries. South Africans are going to be able to grow again. Nigerians, Ethiopians, I could go on. Yeah, they're going to open the floodgates that they closed, and my channel is just going to carry on from where it left off. And when it starts again, when that engine reboots, the growth from what the Lord showed me is going to be so astronomical. I am going to grow so fast. And it's going to happen on both my ministry and my fitness, but I don't intend to monetize ministry because it's gonna be volatile. The Lord showed me, although basically we're headed to the rapture, that's happening, and so monetizing ministry is going to make sure that one day I'm gonna have a stream of income that I'm happy about, that one day it's just gonna get shut. I'm gonna get demonetized for saying something taboo. This European Union law is still going to be in effect, and I'm going to get censored and whatnot. So the Lord was like, only fitness. He has made it clear to me that when you monetize, even though you do get your 4,000 watch hours and your 4,000 and your 1,000 subscribers on your ministries across 4 of them, just keep posting, but do not ever monetize ministry, because you're going to be very disappointed when that stream of income suddenly is cut, because you're going to be tempted to accustom or acclimatize yourself to the luxuries of what that lifestyle would have afforded you, and it's going to be suddenly severed, not sufficiently enough to leave you out on the street without a home, because you'll always have your fitness, but enough to put a dent in your life. So I therefore never ever intend on monetizing ministry, no matter how big it gets. It doesn't matter, but my fitness is gonna pay my bills, y'all. It's gonna pay my bills. It's gonna buy my groceries. It's gonna help me start even my other YouTube channel for cooking and all that jazz, because I wanted to start a channel for cooking, for baking, a pastry channel. I couldn't do that because I ain't got no kitchen. Know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I do actually make queen's cakes. That was not a joke, by the way. Limagwenya, I'm that girl. Anyway, whatever. It's like my little side hobby that I really love. So I intend to do cooking on YouTube. I intend to do baking in particular, not cooking. I'm not a fan of cooking. Funny, it's strange, isn't it? Hey, you don't like cooking, but you like baking. It's one of those. Yeah, I intend to do that. And the thing that's going to finance my endeavors in that regard are fitness. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys right now is that silly man that is called Joe Biden was a judgment on America, but Americans are going to change their mind, and they will also be embarrassed. However, for them, it's a better devil for them to embrace that embarrassment than for them to carry on in this trajectory. They, however, are not going to be repentant for too long. They're still going to fall apart, because they're still going to they still have shoddy, underhanded strategies to keep their power that are not going to be overt and disgraceful to the world in a way that will make them change their minds. And so their downward spiral, their trajectory unto destruction is inevitable. It is going to happen. They will still continue to persecute Donald Trump. They will still continue to persecute anybody at all that is biblical as a Christian. They will still continue to persecute anybody that is a voice of reason against obvious insanities. And for these reasons, given the rebellion of an entire nation, they're going to fall anyway. But the Lord will grant reprieve to many of the people in the world that have been affected by this executive order coming from the US that nobody knows about unless you're a prophet, which I'm not, but I do have prophetic giftings. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what under heaven is happening. So the near-death experience with the suicide ideation that slapped living daylights out of me, it was heavily dependent upon the US staying this dumb. But I was scared, saying to God, I'm holding on to you, but it's getting heavier and heavier and harder and harder. And what did the Lord give me? He said, humble your gym. That is monetizable. That is where you're going to get your salary. That's what's going to make you move out of your mama house. That's what's good. So I started working out and it worked. Never mind to help me get out of the suicide ideation, but also to help me really truly have hope, because he showed me that it's going to work. He showed me it's ultimately going to be lucrative for me, so I keep up at it. Therefore, when I tell you that yes, the Lord did show me that witches would be trying to kill me all the way up until the rapture happens, they will keep on sending me death curses for suicide. The Lord showed me that, but what he did not tell me nor show me, because I guess he wanted to give it to me as a surprise, like a bunny coming out of a birthday cake or something, I don't know, was the fact that I would reach an equilibrium sorrow. In other words, the height of my sorrow would ultimately at some point intersect with the interventions that Jesus Christ would give me to conquer the sorrow, to a point where, now that I was at equilibrium, all that could happen now was the favor for me going forward on this particular graph. So my sorrow was inclining. But so too was the Lord's intervention against my sorrow. And the initial interventions that I had were merely theological, in the sense that I was explaining suicide away using the scriptures, and that's what kept me alive for a very long amount of time. I hold very fast to the doctrines that I have formulated in my orifices to keep myself alive, that suicide leads to hell. Whether or not I'm accurate is irrelevant, because it has saved me. I believe that Christ was tempted unto suicide in the wilderness, and he said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God. When the devil said, jump off this cliff and trust the angels of God to catch you, for it is written that they will bear you up on their wings so that you don't strike your foot against a stone. That was basically the devil saying, jump and trust that you will enter heaven. And Christ said, don't tempt the Lord, right? In Matthew 24, it is also written that it is he who endures to the end that will be saved. This calls for the perseverance of the saints. It is written in Revelation. There is just so much that God speaks about, that in hardship you have to persevere to the end. After suffer, you must, do not grow weary of doing good, because in due season you will reap the peaceful fruit of righteousness if you do not give up. There's always that if you do not give up. And so there's a lot of fear that is spurred up in my heart at the prospect of cutting my own silver cord, because I feel as if though it is the tantamount of not enduring to the end. It is the tantamount of giving up, and there's also the tantamount of tempting God. So my theological understanding of the likely ramifications of suicide has kept me alive, and it worked for years. Do you understand? But there was a time when I was so forlorn, so macabre, that I was literally negotiating with God and begging to do it, and also wondering, come on, I've loved you all this time. You said I won't be plucked out of your hands. Plus, I feel the Holy Spirit every single day in my core. I can feel your presence every day without fail. No manglele. How you gonna then, upon me dying, just extract yourself out of me? Is that not a break of a promise? I was literally saying such things as these to God. So the graph, therefore, going up in the opposite direction to my increasing melancholy, and however the counteracting force being my interventions, initially starting out with theological interventions. I then you guys realized that theological interventions are not enough. Using the word of God to help me stay good has worked for 8-9 years. It's been working so far. Suicide has never been this strong, the desire for it, than what recently happened. And the Lord was showing me that I'm getting attacked by a barrage of witchcraft coming from so many different sources, like suicide curses coming from so many different sources, including this animal, this beast, this King Kong, this King Shark, this gorilla, this menace, this rodent, whatever, from America. He kept slapping me with death curses, one after the other, listening to the fact that they are really getting to me as well. And so he kept on burning these, I told you, yellow candles. And the macabre was real and alive. One thing that guy prospered to take away from me, that God kept on telling me, he kept showing me visions of myself looking in the mirror, because I'm sitting around. And the word sedentary kept on being communicated to me by the Holy Spirit. The Lord also kept on communicating to me that if you allow this man to kill you, literally it'll have been almost as if though you'll be like John the Baptist, beheaded at the decree of, was it Herod or whatever, thanks to some filthy woman by the name of Salome, who was like, kill John the Baptist for me and bring me his head on a platter. And he described women and their jealousy as Salome, who are sitting back asking for the head of a person through a man. So basically the man that did kill John the Baptist, that sent the decree for the murder of John the Baptist, was sent by a woman. And God was showing me that your death will have been literally a circus that would have been orchestrated by women who would have sent men to kill you out of jealousy. Nothing but jealousy. But you will have been to me like a John the Baptist, because that's what all my Christians are prior to my return. Messengers in the wilderness speaking of the coming of the Messiah, saying the winnowing fork has been sent out. Therefore be in keeping up with repentance. Woe to you, Pharisees. What have you heard? Like, basically people just warning people, Christ is coming, Christ is coming. And I will have been one John the Baptist out of many that will have been just taken out the way, massacred by some silly little Salome. Salome that inspired a man to kill another man. Women would have inspired men to kill me. They would have sat back and waited for me to die and then claimed that they did nothing. They did not kill me. Men killed me. The animal from America, I would have spoken about him on the rooftops like no man's business. And when then I committed suicide, they would have been like, oh, well, I look at that guy. Oh, well, I look at that guy. They would have just done that, except they would have incited. Given, therefore, that that's what the Lord showed me, he was telling me, Hore, first of all, you don't want any of these flaccid females to conquer you. You're my daughter, you've stood with me. You're bigger than them all. You're strong, Karabo. And that's the reason why they want you taken out. However, they don't want your blood on their hands, and so they're basically sitting back, watching men kill you. You gotta survive it all. You have survived everything. And I have told you, I'm giving you your ministry. Not ministry, that too. But I'm giving you your fitness. You are going to monetize it. You're going to have your own apartment. And you're going to finish this journey living by yourself. And by the time when I rapture the body of Christ, you are going to own a MacBook Pro laptop. I showed you these things. So given that you're still living in this shack at the back of your mother's house with this computer like no man's business, what this all is basically saying is that it's not time for you to die. You will have been cursed and taken away from you that which is your blessed hope and your inheritance. You are supposed to be at an airport with all of my other servants, working frantically before I come and collect them in flight 777, and you're going to be boarding this flight from your apartment. You are not going to be boarding this flight from the back of your mother's house, gathering dust. I told you. So what? Listen to me. What have I been telling you is the way out of this macabre? What is your future hope? What is the thing that you can look at and see it coming in the horizon that I've promised you? Ngarabo was like sobbing, fitness, God, fitness. Exactly. Go back to working out. You're gaining weight. Go and get your body back, because that's how you're going to make your money. You are going to earn a salary from doing fitness content. I told you. I warned you never to monetize ministry, because they're going to keep coming at content creators who are truth channels. But they're not going to target your food ministry. They're not going to target your fitness ministry. You will be able to do any other kind of YouTube channel that you want to do to monetize other than ministry. Ministry will keep on getting strikes. You will keep getting your channel being unable to post for 2 weeks and all that jazz, but they will leave your fitness alone. They will leave your baking alone. They will leave everything else that you want to do. Hair, they will leave all that alone. So be smart, be wise. Behold, I've sent you out as sheep among wolves. Therefore be innocent as a dove, though shrewd as a snake. Do not monetize ministry. There is no wisdom in that in these last days of attacking my word. Monetize something that the world will not ever touch. And when America snaps out of its insanity, all of a sudden your fitness is going to fly on Facebook. It's going to fly on YouTube. It's going to fly everywhere. And given that you're my spiritual warrior, every time a witch curses your fitness, every time a witch curses your channel, you're going to pray it off in like 24 hours, boo, done. Fast for like 24 hours, boo, done. It's over. Next. You're going to gain prosperity. I am therefore doing what I'm doing, knowing that in retrospect, I'm going to suddenly blow up. All the work I'm doing now, it's not in vain. My shorts that I am uploading, my long form content, it's gonna get viewed. People are gonna go in retrospect to my old work and when I'm monetized and earn me revenue off that. That's why the Lord showed me my salary is going to spike so fast. I'm going to get a salary increase very quickly. Like, I'm going to go from getting 3,000 rands a month to 10 to 15 to 25 to 40, like that. It's going to happen so suddenly. And the amount of money that I'm going to be making, the Lord showed me the bank, my personal bank in particular. I bank with Standard Bank and FNB. But from what the Lord showed me, this would be FNB is going to call me to try and get me to join private banking. And never mind private banking, but to also see if I can't invest the money that is in my bank account with, like, I don't know, in some kind of a portfolio. Like, basically just bankers calling you because they realize you've gotten like a big fat chunky salary all of a sudden. I am going to have to make a whole bunch of trips to SARS. I'm like, in order to pay taxes now because I'm earning so much. Also, the Lord showed me the depletion, what is this, canceling of my debt. Go credit bureau, pay it all off. Like, I am going to fix my life before and then like, that's what the Lord showed me. Like, yeah, so when he showed me the FNB, who is currently passing me shade right now, calling me, trying to get me to do private banking, I was like, okay, that would be a new one. That would be a brand spanking new one. But I keep on getting visions of that happening over and over again. How he shows me that when I had just gotten my pension monies, it was money running into the hundreds of thousands from MTN. I got a call from Nedbank. That's at the time I used to bank with Nedbank, and they were like, "Hi." And in the run up to, my bank account was completely empty. They were busy sending me SMSs on some, "You're overdrawn by these charges," blah blah blah, and they were giving me grief. And no, it wasn't. It wasn't Nedbank. It was FNB. Exactly, it was FNB at the time because I had moved over from Nedbank to FNB because I ended up doing FNB private banking. And then after they give me grief and whatnot, bank sent like the SMS telling me they're going to send me to the lawyers. When my pension monies came in, now they were like, "Hi, don't you want to come in so that we can talk? Don't you want to invest? Don't you?" I was like, just 2 weeks ago, you were giving me so many problems. Yeah, the Lord keeps giving me that flash vision of that event that I experienced shortly after losing my job, a good year after losing my job from MTN. They took forever and a day to even pay out my pension monies. They persecuted me so much. Go MTN, whatever. I keep getting that flash vision returned to me over and over again. But the Lord showing me the day is going to come when banks who are currently avoidant of you right now are going to be calling you to bank with you, to invest with you, because there's going to be such a huge payment in your bank account, chunks of money, just like lump sums, just coming in every single month because of how fast your YouTube channel is going to be growing. You're going there. You're going there. The Lord showed me the money that I'm going to be earning is going to be so hearty that I'm going to be able to pay off, to basically get out of here very quickly. As in, I'm going to be able to purchase furniture cash. I already have furniture, but I don't want it. It's been gathering dust, probably with like mold on it. I don't know, at my uncle's house. The Lord showed me he has no intention of having me use my furniture, plus some of it has been taken by family, all that jazz. So I'm going to buy my furniture, all of it, from scratch. I am going to buy everything cash. Like he showed me, I'm going to have that much money. No more debt, no more loan. Oh, no man, nothing except love. He's going to enable me to honor the word of God, even in what I owe. Type establishment thing. So we're going to be buying a brand spanking new bed, a brand spanking new fridge, a brand spanking new couch, a brand spanking new television. Brands, like, everything is just going to be paid in cash. And the amount, like I said, the money is going to be coming in very suddenly and also quite sporadically because of, again, the just sudden growth, the astronomical strike of my work streaking up. And y'all would be lying to yourselves if you said you don't see where that's coming from. Because frankly, I might not be a pro athlete. I might not also be a pro dancer, but I move. I can dance in a way that is frankly better than a lot of other very big dance channels on social media. I can move. I can move in the worst way. It's a talent that is just obvious, and it keeps getting better and better. And we live in an era, 2023, where everybody is busy consuming dance content all over the show. And I'm not just using it to dance, I'm also using it to fit myself up tone. So I'm very motivational, I'm inspirational. I also have a whole bunch of ideas to do nutrition alongside my exercise. So I'm very motivational. I also have a blog. that I write. What is this? My fitness blog that I write in. I'm going to go in there, write in there, monetize that, get ad revenue on that, where I speak about nutrition, fitness, blah, 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 and what have you. WordPress, of which is yet another company belonging to America that has thwarted African talent. I had literally not monetized, but it's bought the domain, WordPress, and they shadow banned me. They're gonna unshadow ban me, meaning that ad revenue is something that I'm going to be getting on both my ministry alongside my fitness page. I've got a fitness blog and a ministry blog. I'm going to get retrospective revenue on all of them. Now, when it comes to my blog, I am yet to find out from the Lord if at all I can monetize that, my ministry blog. If at all I should monetize that, or if I'm going to keep getting harassed on that place. My blog is a private website, so if WordPress gives me grief, I'll just go private, like entirely private, and then monetize, and so I can't get censored on that type establishment thing. So I think I will monetize my ministry, my blog, my written work, the portion of it for my ministry. Like the way that I've been so persecuted in that space, I have even stopped writing. And the articles that I wrote, guys, they're long. They could be little mini books. And I got no views or 1 or 2 people liking. And it's like, how do I invest so much time editing, like adding meat, research, and all that jazz only to go nowhere? So I've stopped writing because I've got so much work to do. Well, when you have an incentive to continue to work, you do exactly that. So I'm going to go back to writing, and I'm going to get the hits. I'm going to get the growth on my blog. I won't have to write on Medium. I won't have to write on Hub Pages. I will write on my own blog and earn money that way, both in fitness and in ministry. So all of these, like I said, in retrospect, I'm going to get paid for stuff that I already wrote long ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and it's going to earn me revenue, ad revenue. And people are like, the money is just going to keep rolling in. Then I'm going to go home. And the Lord intends to do that just to show people that I was never blocked, that I was never thwarted, that I was just a monument, an example. Because the fact that he could have opened those floodgates for me will evidence that everybody was a fool. So it's not like God blocked my husband. It's not like God blocked my children. It's that God was handling you. He gave you the sign of Jonah. The Lord God Almighty says, a wicked and a perverse generation seeks after a sign. They will not be given any other than the sign of Jonah. Jonah disappeared in the belly of a fishy for 3 days. Jesus disappeared in the belly of the earth for 3 days. So disappearance was the sign. You were not given my breakthrough, but just before the rapture, God is going to give you a sudden sighting of me getting an apartment and all that, and it's going to happen so rapidly. And just as you're busy trying to get your minds to understand and casting spells, boo, rapture, you will have sought for a sign and not be given any. And the resurrection, you know how the sign of Jonah involved Jonah going in the earth, and then he was vomited in the belly of the fish, and then he was vomited at shore after 3 days. Well, my vomiting at shore is when America makes a decision to stop doing the rubbish it's doing. Then all of a sudden, I'm going to go preach to Nineveh. So in other words, Jesus again, he was in the earth for 3 days, rose after 3 days, and then he was sighted. I'm going to be sighted, basically doing a resurrected thing. Omuntu o vugile from the dead, like Lazarus, living, apartment, new car, blah, all that jazz, and then boo, rapture. Christ, shortly after his resurrection, was his ascension. My life is going to follow that exact trajectory. Death, my life is going to follow that same trajectory. Persecution, so that is the Son of Man being put on a cross. Then his death, right? So that is the Lord being in the earth for 3 days, 3 nights. Then his resurrection, he gets sighted, shows people the holes in his hands and the hands of the Son of Man for the sake of doubting Thomas. And then shortly after that, ascension. He goes into heaven and is with the Father forever. He has done the exact same. He told that model of my redemption is going to look that way, where I will have been persecuted for a very long amount of time. I will have then basically just disappeared, buried in the earth, going nowhere. Then I will have a resurrection where in a very glorified state I am walking around, still on earth. But those who are with unbelief are going to second guess it, bewitch it, and then they're going to witness the resurrection, the rapture, the ascension, which would be the tenement of the rapture, going up in the sky, right? However, those that, for the sake, David says in one of the Psalms that God, for the sake of those who are looking at my life, hoping to prove your serving of me, your love for me, Please rescue me. Please deliver me for the sake of those who are looking at my life, watching to see what you're going to do for me, given that I've got so many enemies. For the sake of those guys. Those are the doubting Thomases. They want to see, they low-key support a person. They're sorry for what they're going through, but they're wondering, where is God? Those are Thomases. And for those guys, the Lord is going to rescue some with my testimony, because they are the Thomas that sees the holes in the hands of the Son of Man, and then they will go in the rapture. But the wicked and the perverse generation that sought after a sign, they got nothing but the death, the persecution, death, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus Christ. They will literally wait until the rapture itself, the final trumpet blast, to be like, oh my goodness. And then maybe they'll repent in the tribulation. They will go through the hour of trial, and then you get my point. I believe I've explained everything. So that day is coming. I'm gonna have joy very briefly on earth, after being briefly recovered to my former lifestyle, if not better, and then some. And I say briefly because I'm not going to be I'm not going to get to splurge and enjoy and have the kids and all that jazz. I'm just going to enjoy being an independent woman again, and then whoop, in the sky I go. Rapture. You're gonna know. And when it happens, some will believe, they will repent. Others, however, will keep bewitching and bewitching and bewitching. So what then did the Lord give me as a thing to help me survive this thing? Like I said, exercise. And the nice thing about exercise is that while I had feared in my understanding that I would be macabre, melancholic, because I keep getting sent death curses, the power of the counteracting force of endorphins naturally produced in exercise of depression is to fight with. It is nothing to make war with. Guys, God knows his creation. He made it very perfectly and quite exquisitely. He knows the simplicity of the veracity of his power. He also knows what he's done in our bodies. He knows what the earth can do for the health of the human body, what fruit to eat for this and that, what to do to conquer certain things before even pharmakia, drugs, synthesizing nature's painkillers, synthesizing nature's antibiotics, synthesizing, before human beings came up with synthetic versions or laboratory manufactured versions of medications and magnifying the potency of them in comparison to the original derivative from nature. People were already healing themselves using God's creation and using discovery of what their own bodies can do to heal. Before psychology and before pharmakia, before seeing a shrink to talk about it, and before taking an antidepressant to talk about it. What is it called? Prozac. Before drinking alcohol to alter the state of your mind or taking psychedelics, the Lord had already given the human race a way to survive all manner and kinds of either mental illnesses or physical illnesses. And he knew the power of naturally just trusting him with the body he's given you and the nature around. God knew. He knew. And so I underestimated the power of exercise as a potent antidepressant. So violently potent is that I literally feel no sorrow. So remember that curve that I was telling you guys about, where this was the incline of my melancholy, but on this other side was the interventions I was conjuring up in my core to conquer the depression to a point of wanting to commit suicide. I reached an equilibrium where now the amount of sorrow that I had was equal to all my interventions. I needed to pierce past that equilibrium, and I have. Now I'm just on an upward spiral, and there is nothing that any witch can do. There's nothing they can do. And what was the thing? Remember, my interventions were theological at first, and me explaining away suicide. It wasn't enough. It only helped me get to equilibrium. I needed more than equilibrium, ever so slightly more, in order to conquer any spell that comes at me. And the Lord knew that this powerful mixed cocktail of chemicals that he releases in the body when you work out, when you reach what would be the tantamount of a runner's high, an athlete's high, is so powerful. It is so potent. The Lord knew that my therapist couch, the talk with the shrink, would be the equivalent of me talking over here and basically speaking about my heart cry. So that's one section of dealing with a mental illness that is going to lead you to suicide. And now the medications that the psychiatrist would prescribe to you, the medicated part is the exercise. I'm not medicated. I don't take no pills, nothing. I just drink my protein shakes. They're not even protein shakes. It's just a little cinnamon mix and whatnot, fenugreek seeds, just to give myself a little bit of a boost after exercise. It's like food. That is what I take. I then work out and my body does everything else. My body does everything else. The release of endorphins into my bloodstream after exercise there is no match for it. No spell can knock me down. I have passed the point of equilibrium. Theology only got me to equilibrium, but it wasn't enough. I needed something that was loftier than the misery. I needed the graph to cross, and then I needed to exceed the part where I had crossed over. And that was exercise. All along, I should have known. I should have known because it used to work in the past, but this little random menace from America came into my life. And after he left, he made me sedentary. I was so depressed after what he did to me that I stopped working out for almost a year, and it nearly killed me. It nearly killed me. It was working up to a certain point. Literally, his only weapon was my sedentary lifestyle, and that's why the wicked keep coming at my exercise now. Now they're targeting my exercise, trying to force me to sit down, but I'm like, I'm sorry. The power of positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement. You don't understand. Like, this is enforcing my behavior. Even if I feel weighed down by witchcraft, just what I know I'm going to get from working out is enough for me to get up and do it. I just work out. When I dance, by the time I'm done, I'm so happy. I have so much joy. That how now, no voice of a demon, no psychological twat rubbish being told to me by the occult, nothing works. I've pushed past the point of equilibrium, so the Lord might have shown me that death curses with suicide are going to be sent to me on a loop, all the way up until the rapture happens. But what he didn't tell me, which was a surprise that I got gifted in a nice little box, was the fact that God is going to make it such that no matter what death curses they send to me, I will still have the joy of the Lord. Insofar as I keep dancing, insofar as I keep working out, insofar as I keep pushing my body to a certain point where I will get what will be the equivalent of a runner's high or a dancer's high, an athlete's high, where you are no longer feeling pain and exercise but euphoria. If I can push to the point of euphoria if I can just push to the point of getting to that euphoria, and I tend to know when that time comes. It tends to come at the 45-minute to the 1-hour mark of exercise. In the beginning, I'm just kind of dragging my body along, but by the time I get to the end, I'm happy. I'm bouncing. I'm like an atom. I'm just vibrating on the spot. There is so much joy. God knew that there is a way to conquer depression way before psychologists sat people down on a couch and psychiatrists prescribed medication to mess with people's chemical imbalances in the brain. There is a way to rebalance those chems, guys. Exercise. And there are so many people who will tell you the exact same thing. So people who are lazy to hit the gym, you don't know what you're missing out on. Like, find what works for you. If you can't do rote mundane exercise like I can't do it, just a basic squat or running the treadmill, it sucks, then find what works for you. And what works for me is dance. What might work for you is jogging. What might work for you is playing with the kids. What might work for you is getting a Nintendo Wii and doing boxing sport with a TV game. However, that is for sport, like a Wii Sport. I don't know if they still do Nintendo Wii Sport. Is it still popular? Type thing. Join a Zumba class. Join capoeira. I used to love capoeira, but I don't have money to afford capoeira. But I guess I could watch a capoeira video online and then follow it type thing. Do what works for you. Something that does not feel like exercise. And push to the point of euphoria. And make it a schedule, a routine, minimum 4 days a week. And the remaining 3 days of the week, you will, in increasing measure. In the beginning, when I started out with exercise, when I returned, on the weekends I would get depressed because I was not working out. But now, because I've been working out consistently for about a month and a half now, a month, 1 week, however long it's been, it's getting easier. The weekends are becoming easier to carry, in that it's almost like the euphoria is carrying over. The chemicals that come into my body when I work out, they carry over into the weekend. And so by the time Sunday comes, I'm still okay. And it's getting better every weekend. Each day gets better. You know that song? Yeah, John Legend. Each day gets better. Each weekend gets better. So I went from being super macabre and melancholic to whatever, man. It's just a feather that I blow away. Now, why did I even tell you all of that? I told you all of that because I just got yet another death curse coming at me from the same coven in South Africa and this man from America. Yet another candle has been burned, but this time around I couldn't even feel it. I just saw the dreams where I was like Samson. You know how Samson died, killing more Philistines than he did when he was alive. They're trying to make me kill myself, thinking that I'm like Samson. And God was like, not today, Satan, not today. The Bible says when the enemy comes at you like a flood, God will raise a standard above him. And that's exactly what he's done for me. He's raised a standard. There is no death curse, no matter how strong, no matter how many of them there are. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. On Friday, when I was working out, as I was blinking, I saw a vision of a scorpion crawling around on the floor where I was working out. I was like, God has given me power and authority to trample you. Trample on serpents and scorpions and overpower the enemy, and nothing shall by any means harm you. So God did let me know that suicide would pursue me all the way to the end. But he did not tell me that I would get to a point where it does nothing, even though the spells are cast. He gave me conquering power. He made me able to push. So nobody can take my exercise away. Why? Because it's positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement. Now I am going to watch myself lose weight, get stronger. I'm just gonna, guys, like, I can't tell you how happy I am. Like, I am restored. There is no more suicide ideation in me to a point of negotiating with God. I got mercy. All on 0 rands, all on $0, all on no support. Thank you very much. I'm gonna monetize. When? I don't know. But as soon as America stops a dumb thing, whenever that happens, I'm going to grow in a matter of weeks. I'm going to monetize in a matter of weeks from the date that America basically unpresses whatever button it has currently pressed. Don't say I didn't tell you. So as for people in the occult, I proper don't know why you keep fostering. But if you want to keep pushing the thing that you're pushing because you are a pusher, do you, bugger? Bottom line is, I have reached equilibrium and exceeded it. Meaning, there is no depressing me anymore with death curses. Find something new. Innovate afresh. Or repent. I mean, I just feel as if the repentance is the better option at this point. But if you don't want to, do you. Do you, occult practitioners, do you. I ain't scared of you. I wasn't supposed to be scared of you. But I writhed a little bit there. But God has compassion on me because he remembers that I am made of dust. So he had mercy. Hallelujah. As for everybody else watching, I hope you've been edified, like, seriously, very strongly. As for America, whatever, okay. As for Americans, I know you're not all gangster, but at this point, I'm very upset at the whole country because of what in the world under heaven have also been done to by American civilians. So I don't know, maybe tomorrow I'll change my mind about you. Your nation, however, has set you up for failure because now you're about to feel really small for being overtaken by other content creators across the world. You're gonna feel small because your country made you basically stop training your muscles because you were given an unfair advantage. And that is uncomfortable and unfortunate and frankly collateral damage and unfair, but you're gonna have to just deal with it. You have an evil president and he's done this to you. And I'm sorry. I'm really very sorry. However, here's the nice little nugget for Americans as well, right? To make them feel better. Remember, guys, we are all the citizens of heaven when we give our lives to Jesus Christ. So holding on to a country can sometimes convert out of that nation of yours, if it is a powerful nation like the superpower that you are living in, into an idol. Americans, very unfortunately, have made America, the flag, the dream, the national anthem, the superpower status, an idol. Perhaps the Lord is shaking you up in this season to cleanse you of that idol. Your patriotism has rendered you persecutors of Earth's citizens now that your country is falling apart, evidencing the fact that you are idolaters of your country as opposed to basically honorers or citizens of heaven. So the Lord is decimating your country, American Christians, in order to cleanse you of the idol that is your country. That flag, that map of America is an idol. American citizens, Christians, have ignored my plea and my whole cause as a suffering saint across the world when the Lord said we must take care of one another, especially those who are of the household of faith. And they have ignored me out of envy, out of jealousy, out of covetousness, and also out of a competitiveness, because they don't want somebody with my kind of prophetic gifting or my talentedness to get far or get heard. Insofar as they're not in America. You are literally serving country first instead of God first. It is idolatry. It is why I was left barren and destitute until I had to find a strategy to conquer, all by me savvy, all by me lonesome. The Lord helped me along to overwhelm suicide curses when the majority of my audience, frankly, are American. And they are American professing Christians, meaning that they've made themselves Ananias and Sapphira. You have idolicized, if that's even a word, or trized, if that's even a word, the country. Your favor for your nation, that is America, made you ignore me purely because I'm from South Africa. So, Joe Biden, upon setting you up for failure, frankly, was God helping you along? Romans 8:28. All things work out together for the good of them who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. God was helping you curb yourselves, since you gotta be cleansed to basically be found worthy to escape the things which are coming on the earth. From your idolatry of your country, you have favored your nation to a point of disregarding your Christian duty to sisters and brothers across the world. That's how bad things are with you. So start entering into a fast America and cure yourself from attachment to your country and get close to Jesus, because we all belong to the same country if we are Christian. It's called heaven, but you guys are literally still Americans despite being citizens of heaven. Not acceptable. Forget about your country. It is judged. It is one of the most evil countries in the world, if not the most evil country in the world today. That means you are now like the Israelites in Babylon, American Christians. You are literally like the Hebrews in Babylon now. You are living in a world that has no regard for your God. That's why holding on to the American flag ain't gonna do jack for ya. That's all I'm going to say as a South African. You have put a bitter taste in my own mouth. Even though I initially started out fellowshipping very well with Americans, I was also trained by the American church. Much of my theological understanding is from American content creators. I was raised by Paul Washer. I like to call him my spiritual dad, frankly. So if America could have done so well to disciple me, wow, how far from glory have you fallen exactly? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. So, of course, when your country falls, you're going to feel like you have fallen, unless, of course, you belong to another country. And like I said, heaven should be that place. Let go of this earth. Do not love the world or anything in the world, for the things in this world are dying. The love of the flesh, the love of the eyes, and the boastful, sinful pride of life. And America has a boastful, sinful pride of life. You are so proud of that country that you are literally happy that they are sabotaging innocent Christians, especially across the world, when you are supposed to take care of those who are of the household of faith. You are supposed to mourn with those who mourn. You are supposed to weep with those who weep. You're supposed to comfort those who are in need of being comforted. You are supposed to give a glass of water to drink for the least of the disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ. But you've not done such a thing as that because you're busy standing in line with your country, holding fort for your country, because you're patriotic not to heaven, but to America. The Lord will say to you, when I was hungry, you didn't give me food. When I was naked, you didn't give me drink. When I was in prison and sick, you did not visit me, neither give me hospitality. When I was thirsty, you did not give me drink. I don't know which one I've left out over there. And you will ask God, when did I not do this for you? And the Lord will tell you, whatever it is that you did not do for the least of my disciples, you didn't do it for me. You didn't do it for Karabo because you were too busy looking at the American flag instead of looking at me. You need to detach yourself from your patriotism to America, Americans. Your country's falling. So too are all the nations of the world's countries falling. But you have been given a special kind of idolatry because Babylonians were always very proud of being Babylonians. So too were the Grecians, so too were the Romans. Why? Because they were giant empires. When you belong to an empire, you have got a susceptibility and a propensity, a proclivity towards idolicizing or making an idol, a golden calf, out of your country. You cannot disregard your Christian duty in favor of your nation, because that's trying to keep yourself comfortable. This earth is not ours. For here, we're only going to inherit it in the millennial reign. And your America is not even found in Bible prophecy. So stop holding on to it. I hope you've heard me. I'm signing out in God's name, Crank. Bye.